with the seminar, Caitlin will be sending out a worksheet. That is the budget sample form. We're going to go over that today live so that we can see kind of how that plays in and show you how to use it. But it is an Excel sheet that you can plug in your own numbers. And when we go over it, you'll understand where all of those numbers come from to find out what your hourly rate is. That was always a big mind blower for everybody, because when I asked, what is your hourly rate? Everybody's got their funny answers. And it's not until we break it down that you realize, like, oh, wow, that's where those numbers come from. So also be sending out a worksheet just so that you can follow along and then have something to kind of base your plan for 2026 or for each year. You can save this and then go back over it each year, just like your financials from your bank. If you've got any type of funding or a loan, or you're keeping track of your financial status with your CPA or your tax specialist, you want to fill out that financial form every year so that you know where you're at. You know how much you owe, you know how much you're making, you know where you're spending, which is always a big downer for me because who needs that kind of negativity in their life? But it's important to know if you're going to grow your business. So in business, I definitely want to know where my money is. In my personal life, like, just don't even. You'll look like the best. So you'll have this worksheet to be able to follow along and then use it for years to come. Other than that, grab a drink, get ready, write down your questions as you're going through. If you have questions, you can send them right when you think of them. If you're like me and you have to get them out of your head, otherwise you'll forget, or save it to the end, and then we can answer all of that. Again, like I said, if you think of something afterwards or you want a little more clarification on something, shoot me a text or a message through social media. I'm happy to help. A lot of times I'm going to explain kind of my experiences of having, starting from a small family salon and growing it, of 3 people, me and 2 others, to a salon of 15, 16 members, and now 3 different businesses that, 4 businesses, but 3 that all work hand in hand and kind of cross over one another sometimes. So that's on a big scale. Not everybody's at that same level, nor do they want to be. So I will try to always go back and reference it on the smaller side of things and doing one-on-one. That way you have a little bit of perspective. Some of the stuff may not pertain to you, but if you're wanting to get to that level, I'm going to try to show that path and how you can get there. But I will break it down as far as, like, if I was one-on-one, how I would do it. I think it's all pretty self-explanatory. And the references will give you lots of insight at how you can handle things as well. No matter what, whether you're one-on-one or a crew of 15, you still want to be able to set certain things in motion to set yourself up for success. And those SOPs, those standing operating procedures, that's what's going to get you from ground level to corporate level, right? If that's where you're headed with it. So you want to set those up, set yourself up for success, and then follow it. And each year, those are going to be modified depending on your growth. So, hi, I'm Robin Wilkins. I own Michelle's Pet Salon, family-owned business. I've been a groomer for 38 years. I opened recently Groomology Institute of Texas 3 years ago when I built the new facility here at the family-owned business. When I went through the remodel and the build of the new facility, I knew what I needed to be able to produce the amount of dogs and the volume that I had. But I also knew that I did not, nor could I, in my body, groom for the rest of my life. So I set myself up for retirement. I knew what I needed to do. And as many of you, I have had hundreds and thousands of people walk through the door that I've trained, and for whatever reason, they didn't stay or did stay, and they've gone out the door or whatever. So I knew that I could train people. That's what I did. And I like personally to train everybody that works for me. I do not generally hire already established groomers because their style is not my style. And what I sell here for my business and Michelle's Pet Salon is robbing. And that's what my clients have bought into. And so that's a level that they expect. And so that's what I cultivate, create, and bring. So with that, I knew that I could teach. And so it also allowed for me a retirement plan, but also for my employees. So my groomers, as they transition out of the daily hustle and bustle, they had Plan B as well. So that's how it came about. I come from a family of groomers. My mother started grooming. Gosh, I want to say she was 28, 27, 28. She took her dog to the vet in Louisiana and had to drop it off and wait for it to be groomed because back in 1960, throw it away, there weren't salons like we know today. And so she went home and she was that annoying client who called every 15 minutes, is she ready? Is she ready? No, she's not ready. She didn't like that experience. So she went home and started reading every book, found a show handler that would kind of teach her face detail, learn that, practice it, and then taught herself to groom. So I come from self-taught world, which she kind of threw me in the trenches. At the age of 12, I started shaving. I shaved my first Cocker Spaniel, which we happen to be on the south side of San Antonio. So the clientele that we have and the demographics that we're in are not necessarily well cared for pets. Generally, they're a lot of rescues or purchased, side of the road type thing. So not good quality per se in the show world. Nonetheless, sweet pets. And so they're not always taken care of. And especially back in the day, pets weren't taken care of the way they are now. So what we saw or what we see here in this area, although it has improved, is a lot of matted, fleas, ticks, once a year type dogs. A lot of salons nowadays would say, we're not touching them, take them to the vet, in which some cases we do that. But on most cases, we are able to do them here because handling is such a large part of what I teach. And so it's a great way for students to learn how to handle, how to shave, and learn the anatomy of the dogs. And so once they learn that, adding style to it is fairly easy. But if you have ever taught anyone or you yourself have learned grooming, you know that the handling is the most important part of it, or to me it is. That really is the foundation of it, and understanding pets' behavior. So anyway, that's where the school came about. I went through the painstaking the part of getting licensed through the state of Texas, being an accredited college and technical school through the Texas Workforce Commission. And so now I'm able to accept those grants and loans from the state for the student. So that has been, that's been a whole nother adventure, and that'll have to be another seminar. Anyway, so that's my, history of how I got started. Mine was not from a sense of like, oh, I saw this industry and that really is something I think I could do. It was, I grew up in it. I became an early mom at the age of 20. And so it was a need to survive. So I had to make a living for me and my child. So I see a lot of people that come into it just for the creative side of it. And that's wonderful if you're afforded the opportunity to learn your craft and hone in on it at an easy pace. I did not do that. I was raised in the shop. We bathed and helped the family bathe the dogs. If there was a bean chow that came in, we got in the cages to stay safe. And so I grew up doing it, which I'm very thankful for. On the other side of it, burnout is a whole lot more real and reality for me because it was redundant. And so after meeting Judy in the year 2000, Judy Cansey Thacker, she had the Lone Star Groomers Conference, sent me a little brochure that said, come join us. I called and very reluctantly said, I'm a groomer already, but I need to come to a trade show. It's ridiculous. And she said, you come, and if you don't learn at least one thing, I'll give your money back. So I went. I was absolutely mind blown at what I saw and learned, all the vendors, all the other people that were like me doing what I did, and they all talk to one another. What? In the grooming industry, you always hear people say, oh, the groomers don't talk, they don't socialize. Yes, we do. Back then, I did not because I didn't know any better. But once you expose yourself to that, you realize there is a whole world of you out there. And so you learn sometimes what not to do, and then you learn what to do. Regardless, you're learning. So if you haven't been to a trade show, get to a trade show. It definitely was an eye-opener for me. I always tell the story that that's where I learned where scissors that had slats and holes in them, where did those come from? They were thinning shears, and I had never ever groomed with them. And I could be grooming at the age of, 12, shavings all over cockers. But then when I, hit 25 and see a thinning shear for the first time, I was just from, there you go. My blending and my clipper skills were on point, and the Sally scissors that I use that I'm on casing, that 7-inch scissor had gone all the way down to a 4, but they still worked and I was able to get it done. So imagine having skills with nothing and being able to produce once I got the right tools and the right products and just different perspective, because breed standard, wow, what was that? Then I was able to take it to another level. I did start my NDGAA certification. I also competed very briefly. I realized very quickly that the pressures of my mother being out of a family salon, that doesn't pay. We're losing money every time you go and play with your friends. And so I realized that as well. Also, my pet grooming style it was going to require quite a bit of work to get into a competition level style. But also for me, again, going back to having a child, 2 children at this point, I had to provide for my family. And so I was not afforded the opportunities to just travel and compete. Again, realizing that there wasn't a lot of money there. And I wanted to be able to provide and have a lifestyle. So I knew that if I got back in the salon and made it what I wanted it to be, I could have the lifestyle I wanted. That's where it all comes from. I think I've done a really great job. I know I have. And so with that, now I'm able to share that knowledge with all of y'all. So very excited. I'm very proud of myself. I'm very proud of all the hard lessons my mother taught me and the work ethic that she provided me. But I do not want that for my children. So I've encouraged them to go on and grow, become their own. And if they want to come back to the family business, there's certainly room for them here, but they needed to live a little. I didn't want the relationship with my children that I have with my mom of business owner or boss and employee. I just want to be their mom. So with that, let's get started. What do you consider success? And you will write that down for me, because we are going to circle back at the end of this. What do you consider success? Is it being on groom team? Is it being the fastest groomer in the salon? Is it having your own salon? Is it having a chain of mobile units? What is it that you consider success? Purchasing land, having time to vacation, being able to be at your kids' events. What is it that you consider success? Because that ultimately is what we're chasing, and that's what we want to go after. Because if we know what we're headed for, then everything else is going to just be put in its place, and we know where we're headed, what the prize is. Now, that's not to say what you answer today is going to be the answer for the rest of your life. This is going to change. And depending on where you're at in your life, 20s, 30s, 40s, even early 20s, late 20s, early 30s, early 40s, it's going to change because life happens. So what I would have told you was what I considered success at 25 when I saw Chris Pulaski, when I saw Marlene Romani or Melissa Verplank, and I was like, oh my God, I don't want to do that. Not so much when I'm 49. What I consider success for me is my time and how I spend my time. I want my business and my career to be able to sustain that. So that's what I work towards. What is going to put me where I want to be? And that's hands-off. So it takes years to get there, though. I certainly wasn't able to do that. I paid my dues in my early 20s and 30s. I worked from 7 in the morning. That meant being at the salon at 6:30 till not leaving till 9:30 and 10 o'clock at night. And that's awful. That's terrible. Well, I have something to show for it now. So you do what you got to do to create what it is that you want. So when somebody says you're working too many hours, well, if it's your business, no, you're not. And get ready. If you're an entrepreneur and you're not ready to throw up every single day when life hits you about the decisions you have to make, then you're not in it. If you are feeling those nerves and the vomit sensation of, oh my God, I don't think I can handle this, congratulations, you're in it and you're trudging through the trenches. So that's what you should feel. It is. Being an entrepreneur is stressful, no doubt. But there does come a time where you reach the top and you can relax and enjoy a little bit of it until, if you're like me, have too much ambition and too much energy, and then you see the next challenge and you go after that. So as long as you're going to continue to grow, you're going to have that feeling of anxiety and stress. So welcome to the world of a business, Marilyn. So now that we know what you consider success, what are you doing now to achieve that? Currently, what are you actively doing? Is that lining up those clients and getting them sorted out? Are you actively working on a loan with the bank? Are you trying to find a business partner? Are you hiring more employees? What is it that you're doing to achieve that goal right now? Write that down for me as well. The first thing we're going to get into is going to be our businesses and how we're structured. If we're running a legitimate business, in which I hope all of you are, or you're wanting to open one, you've got to know how your business is structured. This sets the foundation for you. Everything we do, we're going to have to pay taxes on. We've got to report on it. We're held accountable for it. We are the ones responsible for everything. So if we set ourselves up correctly from the get-go, it's going to be less stress for us later. You're not going to get out of taxes. Sales tax, property tax, or income tax. Face it, swallow it, chew it around. It's not going away. So if you just come to terms with it and accept it and build it into your price, then it's not stressful. The ones that find it stressful is the ones that don't plan for it, don't account for it, then you're blindsided when you owe $8,000 or you owe $5,000, whatever. So if we plan for it, then we know we've got it in the works and it's not stressful. There's other things that are going to cause stress that we didn't plan for. So the things that we can plan for, let's do it. So for the tax structure, we've got several different things. Well, business management overview. We're going to talk about business structure, taxes, clients, employees, and retirement. That's what we'll be covering today. And then we'll end it with our live Q&A with Michelle. So let's start out with our business structure. We've got sole proprietorship, our LLC, our sub-S corporations, and our C Corps, which we're going to touch on that, all four of them. I'm going to break them down and explain them to you. Some of the things that we're going to also talk about and go into depth over is our software tracking, our numbers and our products and our tools and everything else, and also accounting, very important part of business. And then we're going to determine our salon's hourly rate. Again, that's the fun part and always a mind-blowing experience for everyone. So for our sole proprietorship, the advantages. This is generally one person. It's you doing business, just small time, I would say. Maybe in your home, out of your garage. Maybe you do have a place that you're renting. It's a very small operation. So a lot of people will start out with that sole proprietorship. An advantage to it, your initial setup filing fee at the county courthouse for the DBA is about, I want to say $15-20 just for that DBA. There's no franchise tax, no tax reports required. You're owned and operated by the same person. Again, just you. Your income tax, you're filing with your Schedule C with your personal tax return. So very simple, very easy. Again, probably just you making money, so not a lot of people to keep track of what comes in. You report it, and then you'll be able to itemize your expenses. But not a lot going on. Often, not a lot of profit to have to explain or pay for either. So, sole proprietor, very small. Drawbacks to it: you're paying a self-employment tax of 15.3%. plus your regular annual income tax bracket. So you're paying twice. So whatever the sole proprietor DBA, Robin's Cup pet grooming, that is going to pay 15.3%. And then whatever profit Robin keeps from this said company as a sole proprietor, Robin has to pay 15.3%. If you're just starting out, not sure that you really want to own your own business, not sure that grooming is really what you're going to do, then this is the one you would start with, right? Very low startup cost, basically just your DBA, maybe you're doing business as name purchase down at the courthouse, which is generally $15-$20. And then it all goes under your tax filing under you. So again, home and garage type business, or maybe you're just doing it, going to somebody's house, does not change your tax bracket. You're not making enough that it's going to jump up your lifestyle. You're just kind of getting your toe wet. You don't really have any assets to cover and not really any liabilities in the sense that, you've got people coming into your property or caring for their pets overnight and things like that. Single member LLC, you've got some assets, you've got some liabilities to protect against. And you're making some money enough to sustain your life and maybe even change, going from $0 income a year to now you're actually in a tax bracket. So that's when you need to go ahead and file that for the LLC. I don't think we've covered S corporations yet. So you will hear this referred to as a sub-S corporation, and this is S corporation, S corp, or sub-S. And this, to me, is your best bet. It protects you and your company against any lawsuits, any liabilities, and it covers you as far as being able to separate your incomes. So you pay yourself as an employee, that's this income, and the business would have its own income. And although it all comes back to you, you're able to differentiate and separate what's business expenses versus what's personal. So this gets you out of having to pay those double cost. You pay that your income tax, your personal, is going to be a lower percent because you're splitting it with the business covering the other half of that. So instead of paying 15.3, you're now paying 7 point whatever. We round it up to 8. So business pays 8, you pay 8. So when we file in our sub-S, the business is covering half of our income tax expenses. So instead of us absorbing it all as well as absorbing all of the business's profit, we now have cut our personal income tax rate down because the business covers the other half, and that's a write-off for us. So we're going to get into write-offs a little bit more, but for me, the sub-S is your best bet. The fourth option is your C Corp, and this is for your publicly traded companies. So you've grown the business so big that you now decide you're going to take it public and allow investors to come in and has board members and seats at this to where people can make all this big stuff. Think of Petco, PetSmart, that level. And when you're going to become publicly traded, you would definitely want to be a C Corp. If any of you get to that level, please call me. I want to come work for you. I aspire to work for you and learn from you. I am not there. There's plenty of room to grow in the sub-S or the S corporation for that without hitting publicly traded corporation or market. So that kind of gives you a layout of what type of structure you need to be in. And depending where you are in your career or where you're at with your business, you would pick from one of those. Again, knowing that, or with me, what I would advise is that sub-S is where you want to be. That's your sweet spot. And if you're not ready to start there, well, then you've got your sole proprietor and your LLC to kind of build your way up. The only problem with those is you're going to spend the startup cost only to spend it again to move up to the sub-S. And so I'm an all-in type gal. I knew what I wanted from the get-go. And so immediately went straight to sub-S because I knew that I was going to be at that level. And so that's where I started. But for those of you that, again, one-on-one, maybe you're trying it out at home before you go and rent a place, you can start smaller and then you will incur those costs. But again, they're write-offs. So no harm, no foul, right? Who pays for write-offs? If any of y'all watch that show, no one does. It's just a write-off. Just joking. Okay. So now we've covered our 4 business structures that are options for us: sole proprietorship, single member LLC, S corporation, and C corporation. Those are our 4. Let me go back on the sub S. I didn't give you all the drawbacks for the sub S or the C corp. And so advantages to that, again, your startup cost would be about, again, $400 plus the time it takes for your tax specialist or CPA to file that for you, or even an attorney. A lot of times people go with an attorney. I found my tax specialist, Michelle, did it for me, no problem. Is fully capable of it and a whole lot less expensive than an attorney. She needed to know how I was going to be structured because honestly, she's the one that handles everything for me. So there was no need for me to go to an attorney, only to hand it back over to my accountant. So $400 on your startup cost. You're going to pay yourself a reasonable salary based on the state average for the industry. So you cannot go in, even though I would love to try, and I negotiated with Michelle thoroughly, you cannot pay yourself minimum wage as a business owner and owner of the sub-S corporation and expect that to fly. You are going to be flagged and they're going to question it. So it has to be a reasonable salary for your position in the company. So if I was just a groomer, well, then what do other groomers at your size salon on the average for Texas make? That's kind of where you want to be. Business owner, what do other salon owners that are your size in the state of Texas? That's kind of where you want to be. And you would follow your state levels, not necessarily, I am trying to figure out what I'm trying to say here. You want to follow what your state averages are, not Texas. I'm giving Texas because I'm in Texas. Okay, only pay payroll tax on your salary as the owner and employee. Regular tax on profit filing is dependent on the tax bracket. So again, I'm only going to be paying for what I make for personally. Half of that because the business absorbs the other half of that, depending on what tax bracket I'm in. And then the business would pay its part of its taxes at 15.3% separately. So I'm able to lower my income tax that I would pay on my personal income. And then you can pass income. This is my favorite. And she always laughs at me, but you can pass income directly to shareholders without paying taxes. So you may take distributions if equity permits, providing you don't exceed the equity. What does that mean? Let me explain. So if the business profits $10 a year, I am able to take a distribution of $10 without having to pay any extra tax on that as a profit. And I can take it as a distribution as the owner, or maybe give each of my 10 shareholders $1 each, and they would be able to take that money, no extra tax paid on that. Where you have to pay tax is if the business only made $10 profit for the year, but I took $20 profit for that year. So now I have to pay taxes on that extra $10 that I took. So you can see where those distributions to the business owner become very attractive. If I needed to go maybe look at a property in Cancun that I might want to open a salon at, and so I'm going to take that trip so that I can go explore that property, talk to other people there, see what the market's like, do my fair research, and maybe drink a margarita while I'm there. I don't know. But that would be as long as I was staying within my profit that was produced and I wasn't exceeding it, I would be able to take that distribution and pay for that trip and not have to pay taxes on it. So you can see where it becomes quite attractive, quite lucrative. One of my favorite parts. Again, Michelle and I do differ on what we consider business trips. I like to live in the gray, honestly. She's more of a black and white type gal. Drawbacks to your sub-S corporation. You do have to have your annual filing of reports, corporate and franchise tax. Those have to be done. Again, your accountant's going to take care of that for you. Extra taxes paid for dividends paid out. Again, your business only made $10 profit, but you took out $20. You've got to pay taxes on that extra $10 that you took out. And then owners are personally liable for the company's debt and legal obligations. And honestly, that's across the board. You sign your name up to that, your social security number is attached to that EIN number, and you are liable for it. So that's going to be no matter which way you go. For the C Corp, the C Corporation, advantages, again, startup costs are about the same at $400 plus the time for somebody to file it for you. It's great for investors and public companies. So again, if you're not a groomer and you want to purchase a business and you're going to have some investors come on, this might be the way to go. And you're going to open it up for public trading. And you've got a lot of capital to be able to pour into this company to start seeing its returns, or you're buying multiples, chains. That's kind of the mindset for this. Drawbacks, again, annual filing of reports, extra tax paid for dividends paid out. Owners are personally liable for the company's debts and legal obligations. And this business is its own separate corporate tax at a high rate, depending on the profit. So we're not following what Robin's tax bracket is that we're going to pay taxes on. Now the corporation has its own tax bracket, depending on where it hits and falls. So a little bit different, a little bit bigger ball game. You have to be running with the big boys for that one. So just keep that in mind. But that may be the goal. That may be what you consider success. Now you know what the road to get there looks like. Next thing we're going to take on is taxes. And I kind of hit on this at the beginning on the intro for the taxes. You've got to pay them. It's not negotiable. It's not, let me find the workaround, because it's going to come back to bite you in the ass. And so you're better off taking it head on, knowing you've got to pay it, structuring yourself and incorporating it in your hourly rate so that you're prepared to do it. So what type of taxes are we looking at as a business owner? Income tax, number one. Number two, employee taxes. That good old FICA, FICA, however you want to say it. 3, property taxes. 4, sales tax. And yes, we pay sales tax on dog grooming. That is not a personal need such as hair or food, in which there is no tax for beauty salons and barbershops. There's no sales tax for that. But for dog grooming, even though we consider dogs our family, they are not. So we pay sales tax. Another thing we'll cover is write-offs and insurance. Not that insurance is a tax, but it's a cost that is incurred by the business, and it is absolutely a must-have. It's not a matter of if you need it, it's when you need it, and you are looking and watching the girl who has paid for it all. So anything that you can think would happen in a salon has happened in my salon. When you have employees, you are at the subject of their knowledge and their responsibility and their carelessness and everything that could happen with them. So you have got to be protected. So insurance is a must. And again, it's not a tax necessarily, but I include it in there as one of those must-haves. So let's discuss this. On the income tax, depending on what your business structure is, that's what's going to determine the income tax. But as a whole, we know we've got that 15.3% that we've got to account for. So that is going to come out, and the business has to match the employee's tax, right? So that's where we are going to plan for that 8% that we're going to incorporate in our hourly rate for our salon, so that we've got enough to cover back to our employees. We want to make sure that they're set up when they retire after giving us, 25 years of service or however many years that they work for us, that they're set up to where they've got a retirement and they're invested and we've paid their Social Security quota and Medicare and all that good stuff. Property taxes. If you own your building or your property, you have got to pay property taxes on that. That can be split up for you. And as property owners, you could pay half in, I want to say November and then July. or it's all due by January 31st, one lump sum. Back before I built the new salon, we paid, I want to say $6,000 annually for the salon property, which is on a very busy street here in San Antonio. It is an older, lower income side of town, but it is still on a very busy street. And so on a commercial street. And so 6,000, maybe 8. And now with the new building, that jumped to $22,000 a year. So you'd think I choked a little bit on that one. I mean, that was a hard hit because I wasn't expecting that. And they don't tell you necessarily, oh, this is going to be until October when they send you, this is what your taxes are going to be. And if you would like to contest it, you can set an appointment, and there's really not much contesting on a commercial property. If I was a senior citizen, I might be able to claim that and get rid of the school taxes part of it, but you're not commercial property, you're going to pay. So be prepared for those property taxes. That gets incorporated into our hourly rate as well. Write-offs, find them, look for them, search for them. In my case, make some up. Michelle will definitely disagree with me. And then insurance as well. Again, we have to pay all that stuff. So if you're not already planning and paying for those things, planning for them and setting it aside, you are being hit really hard, blindsided when it comes due. Or you get yourself that pickle by not paying them. And if you have ever had a round with the sales tax, the sales tax office in Texas, they don't play. IRS, you might be able to kind of wheel and deal and negotiate a little bit, but the state of Texas, they do not play when it comes to sales tax, and they will lock your doors. And that is a whole nother margarita I'm happy to share with you on a different day, but do not play with sales tax. Report it on time, save yourself that late fee on filing, and then have it automatically drafted. Do not, I would highly recommend just paying it monthly. The longer it sits in your account, for some reason in our industry, and I'm sure in others, it becomes very, very easy to look at that and think you've got money. You do not have money. It is not your money. The clients are not paying you. That's not a profit for you. That is owed to the state, and they will come, they will find you, and they will collect, believe me. Next up is clients. So this is huge for our clients. It is all about communication and mindset. So often I find where groomers come to this industry because they don't like people and they don't want to have to deal with people. So they want to work with dogs. Students come to me. Their parents come with them on young students. And they're like, my daughter or my son doesn't really like people. They're, don't like to talk. And so they do better with animals. Well, guess what? Every animal that we care for is owned by a person. And if you do not have communication skills and client relations, you are not going to be able to communicate with that client and build their trust to let you work on their dog. So get over it. If you're going to be a business owner, you've got to have communication skills. You've got to have that personality. You've got to have a customer service voice. And you've got to learn to eat a lot of crow sometimes, especially while you're learning and you're building. Once you're established and you've earned your way up there, and I say earn because we're going to really go into depth on that, then it won't be difficult for you to set those boundaries and those guidelines of this is what I expect, this is how I conduct my business, and these are the type of clients I want. But while you're building, you don't have that choice because you've got rent due, you've got CPS bills, or I don't know where you're at, but we have electric bills and phone bills, and we've got product to buy. Sometimes you've got to deal with those clients that are not so much the type of people you want to deal with. You've got to learn how to communicate with them. And so if you don't like to talk to people, grooming industry is not the place for you because you've got to talk to every pet's owner somehow, some way. So don't let that get in your head that you don't have to deal with clients because you deal with dogs. Yes, you do, especially if you're going to have a successful one. So things we want to cover with our clients: building and advertising, retention, just huge, Communications, tracking our clients. Where are they coming from? Where are they going? What's going on? Maybe a rewards program. What do they get from being a long, loyal client? And then the process in which the client interacts with your business and with your staff, or just you, whether it's one-on-one or you have team members. So let's go through that. I have an extensive process in which our clients go through when they check in, and inevitably we hire a new receptionist, and they may not know the process, but my clients will teach them the process because they're so well trained on how things go when they come in. They expect a certain quality of how things are going to go and what to expect. And when it's not that way, they call me right up, Robin, the new receptionist, and then I have to explain to them what's going on. So whether we've changed a policy, or maybe the girl's just new, or he didn't understand, or whatever. So whether you're just starting out or you're 10 years in building and advertising is a constant, and building your client base, whether you're maxed out or you need to count on pets dying and moving away. So we have got to make sure that we build these relationships. We're advertising constantly because people move, pets die, and we've got to be able to replace them and keep them happy. I know that often we will have clients or groomers say, I'm full, I'm not accepting any more clients. I understand that too. Sometimes you think you're max, especially if you're one-on-one. But we've always got to be putting our name out there so that people are inquiring. And then when you do have an opening, you've got a wait list that you can fill. You never want to be waiting on clients. So continuously advertise. Advertising never goes just washed under the bridge. It is worth it, but it has to be consistent. So whether that's your social media, which is free, a great way to advertise your business. And now with TikTok, geez, I mean, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you've got all avenues of free social media ways to advertise, but it's got to be consistent and it's got to be frequent. You cannot advertise once a week and think that everybody's going to find you. So regardless, keep your presence relevant. What is your client number? This is a really good question. Once we figure out your hourly rate, we're going to determine how many dogs a day that means for you. And then you've got to know that number. How many dogs do you have to have per day, per week, per month, per year to be able to sustain your lifestyle, your bills, and your business? So once you know that number, then you know how many you need to have on reserves in the event something happens. But once you have those numbers plugged in, well, then we've got some steady income flowing. And that's what we want. Steady. Another thing, favorite often here, advertising. Okay, so retention. How are you keeping your clients? The important stats that show us lifelong clients are generally 10 to 12 years and produces a profit of a lifetime profit. Well, that wouldn't be right. On a 6 weeks basis of $75 every 6 weeks. So if they're coming in every 6 weeks, you're charging, let's say $75. You span that out over a 10 to 12 year length of time, and that's how you are able to establish what that client is producing profit-wise for you. But that's paying those bills every single month. So you want to make sure you retain those clients and keeping them as your loyal lifetime clients, because maintenance on a pet is far more profitable than that once a year shave down. And yes, we hit them with that MAC fee at $35, $50, whatever it is. But we're only seeing that dog once a year. There's not a lot of profit to be made because there's a lot of time invested. And so for salon styling, which I'm all about, we do not do show grooming in our salon, although we do breed standard. We're not doing a lot of hand scissoring and have very few hand stripping. Our salon is based on salon style grooming maintenance, because that dog is in every 4 weeks. We are maintaining that at that length that they chose. So most of our clients are in our one reverse, which is our summer cut. It puts them at about a 3 blade all over. And most of them are in teddy bear heads because there's not a lot of poodle lovers anymore, which they're not going to heaven. And if you ever spent time with me, you would recognize that joke. But our maintenance grooms, one reverse on the body and a teddy bear head all day long. And that is profit producing and time saving because they're on the table 15 to 30 minutes per pet. So we want those long time loyal clients. We want to pick out the style that they want and that they're happy with their lifestyle that matches. And that's what we keep them in. They can do variations of, during the holidays, they might want to go a blade up, no problem. Okay, this time let's try, a shaved face or plain face or whatever. Those little variations are no big deal. It's not going to hurt your time invested. It's going to affect your profit. So, that was with client retention. For the pricing of that, I've never called, I don't know if I want to head that way quite yet. But I will. So for pricing at my salon, I've never called another salon and done price checks. I know that I see that through the grooming groups all over. Like I call the other salons and what are they charging? Or they'll post, what are y'all charging for a doodle? I don't give a crap what you're charging for a doodle. I'm going to charge what I need to charge for a doodle because I know what it takes for my salon doors to be open. And so if you're charging based on what you need, it's not going to matter what anybody else is charging because they're going to have those same expenses. So if they're only charging $50 and you're charging $150, that's okay. They're going to have to shut the doors in a couple of months and you're going to get all of their clients. So don't worry about it. Don't concern yourself with the girl down the street or the guy down the street. What's going to set you apart in keeping your clients happy is when you're consistent, you're there, your place is clean and nice, and you've got an easy process for them to drop off their dog. They know exactly what they're going to get every single time. And you know the difference because your skill set is better. So when you set that front and rear angulation on that dog and it walks across the yard, they're going to notice it. Whether they know what they're looking at or not, they're going to be able to recognize that last time Caitlin down the street shaved their dog, it looked uneven and just didn't look right. But every time you shave their dog, then it's got something to it, a little bit of a flair. So you make sure that your work is the difference, not the price is the difference. So do not call. I would not worry or concern myself with calling salons down the street. Your prices are based on what your needs are. You're going to be fine. So let's go through the process of your clients, what they incur when they visit your salon. One thing I make sure of is I reference Chick-fil-A. There is no better customer service than Chick-fil-A. They have got it mastered. When you arrive, you're greeted and welcomed. When you leave, you're sent on your way with pleasantries and a reminder that they will see you soon. And so when you enter my salon, in unison, in like orchestra, my team of receptionists, of which there's 3 on weekends, there's 4. They all say, good morning, welcome, whatever it is. They welcome you in the salon so that you feel like you belong. You're not walking in, people looking at you, whether your dog is once a year or you're here every 2 weeks on our VIP program. You are welcomed when you walk in the salon. When you leave the salon, we say, thank you so much. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Do they even recognize what we're saying? 9 times out of 10, no. But it stays in their mind. Oh, I'm supposed to go back in 2 weeks. I'm supposed to go back in 4 weeks. Whatever it is, I'm sending them on their way with a reminder when they're due back and that we'll be waiting for them. Now, we follow that up with our software that texts them their reminders. We have their appointments pre-scheduled for the year. In our VIP program, we see the dogs every 2 weeks. So they actually come to their haircut and then they get a free bath and blowout 2 weeks after. And as long as they maintain those 12 appointments, they're getting that free bath, which keeps that dog clean. 1, it trains the client to put the dog in the car on the way to work and drop it off with us. We make it very easy for them to leave the dog with us because you don't have to pick up your dog when we text and say, come get your dog is ready. We've got enough housing that we can hold the dog, make sure it's got water and take it potty while it stays here. I have enough space to do that. Other salons may not, and so you may not be able to house the dog. You may be one-on-one, and the client does have to come and pick the dog up. But if you know your client needs that and you can offer that, that makes it really easy for them to go to work, run their errands, and drop the dog. Becomes almost kind of like dropping your laundry off at the cleaners, right? Drop it off, go run my errands, come back, pick it up, and then go home. I want to make it as easy for these clients that they incorporate me in their lifestyle. So the easier I can make it for them, the better it is for me. I see all the time in the grooming groups that they didn't pick up their dog on time, and they didn't do this, and you're complaining so much about that client. You need them. Every single one of us, we need our clients. I don't know where this mindset came in that they need us. No, they don't. They can find Joe Blow down the street. So if you're going to be a business owner, you need every single potential client you can get your hands on. And once you've had them visit your salon, it's up to you to keep them. So changing that mindset that you need them with clear boundaries of what you will and won't tolerate, but you need them. They don't need you. There are plenty of groomers, and I know you can go on and say, oh, there's not enough groomers to dogs. But there's always somebody going to be down the street or in the garage, somebody's daughter who's learning how to groom. They can go somewhere else. So if you've already had them enter your salon, you keep them. You earn their business. You make it as easy as possible for them to get to you, for you to be accessible to them. That's just customer service 101. And that's whether you're in grooming or retail, or it doesn't matter. You have to be accessible to your clients. That doesn't mean weekends or when you're in Mexico on a beach. So making sure phone calls, when you have answered your phone calls, is somebody answering them? Are you returning the phone call? Is there even a phone number to call? Or are you just going to, I'm just going to have text messages because I don't like to talk to people? Now there's software that you can pay for that will talk to the client for you. Some people are older. They're not going to text. So if you're going to hit those older clients and target those as your clients, you've got to be able to handle a phone call, make it accessible for them to be able to get on the phone with you and get the appointment. You may say you don't want that. You send it all to online, where they all have to do it online. Well, now you're restricting the clientele that you're going to be able to service. And that's fine. If you've got enough clients that you're not worried about building more, then set those restrictions. I am in an area where the demographic is fairly low income. The mindset is not really a priority to have the dog maintained the way we would maintain our dogs. So I make sure that I'm very accessible because I want every single client. I've got 15 employees that I need to make sure their mortgages are paid, their vehicles are paid, and their lights are on. And so with the responsibility of having other people's livelihood on me, I make sure that everyone can get to us very easily and that we're going to be ready to accommodate. So again, mindset. If you have an area where you need to speak Spanish or you've got a clientele, then get that. Google Translate, learn it, whatever it is you need to do, whatever area you're in, figure out what your clients are needing and then make that happen. The website, is it easily just kind of click and play, or is it this whole drawn out, lengthy thing? Go back and reevaluate it. How likely are you to use it? If it's not user-friendly, make it user-friendly. Everything you do, you want to make it easy for them. Again, that whole thing of making the interaction with you and the experience with you something that they can incorporate in their lifestyle and it's not a headache. The minute it becomes a headache, that's it. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to find another place. Think about yourself. When you go somewhere, you go to a restaurant, it always takes forever. I don't want to go there anymore. Same thing. And this is with their most valued treasure, their pet. So if it's an inconvenience or somebody's not nice to them, they're most likely not going to return. So make sure that every encounter that they have with you is one that's pleasurable and easy, no stress. As they approach your receptionist team, make sure that it's welcoming. Within the first 10 seconds, they see a friendly face. Software. What type of software are you using in your salon? Maybe you're not at the point that you can afford software yet. So you're doing Square, or hey, let's take it back to Barkley Productions. So let's go with 5x7 index card. And if any of y'all don't remember that, well, then you probably don't need iCream yet. But for those of us that do need iCream, back in the day, we had to document everything like on little cards, because how are you going to remember what haircut you did? How are you going to remember this dog's name and how long it's been since they've been in, or this dog's it's an intact male and it's going to hump and pee over, on everything. All those notes are in there. How are we tracking these clients? I use DaySmart Pet 123. I love it. They did some modifications for me. That was the only company willing to modify its software to accommodate the large salon that we have. Because my bather's only bathe, my groomer's only groom, my receptionist only reception and sell retail. I needed everything specific to what it was that I did. Not all dogs drop off. We have drop off and pickup times. So all dogs drop off between 7 and 9:30 a.m. and then they're picked up depending on when they're done. They get a text message. So again, all of that needed to be modified. But through DaySmart, my accountant has access to that. She's able to pull my sales tax reports, my employee wages for payroll, whatever it is that I need, it's all tracked in there. It's simplified my life. And then I'm able to do before pictures, after pictures. I know when that dog is in, when it wasn't in. When mom called screaming at my receptionist as how she's never coming back and we made a toenail bleed and yada, yada, yada. We've got that documented. Your 4 no-call, no-shows, and we waived the first 3, and now it is mandatory. We're charging you. That's documented. So when you have multiple people covering different spaces, maybe that doesn't get communicated. Fluffy's mom has, no-call, no-show the last 3 times. So this time we're going to charge her. So with the software, it's a pop-up note. So that reminds you. So if you don't have software, make sure you plan to get yourself software. Build that into your cost so that you can run your business and keep it organized and easy being met. We also document for their shop records and any health concerns. That's all in there as well. So when they come in with a scab or something we see, photo goes into their file, then mom calls back and says, he's got a hot spot on here and you caused it. No, ma'am, we notified you at the time of checkout and we took before pictures. We told your husband. He didn't tell me. Clearly not. We've all seen that happen as well. During check-in, are we thoroughly going over those pets and inspecting for matting, scabs? We've seen fishing hooks, fishing lines. We've seen all kinds of things, baling wire in dogs' coats. So while they're checking in, one receptionist is getting all of their information, getting all the computer stuff logged in, and the other runner, is what we call that position, is taking the dog away from mom, giving her collar and leash back, because that's just a headache waiting to happen. If you keep that collar and leash, it's going to get lost in the washing machine, just like socks in the washer, or invariably we lose them. So we get them back. Keep this in your car. When you come to pick up, bring it to us. We'll put it back on. We slip our lead on. We've got control of that dog. It goes onto the scale. Our prices are based on weight of dogs. So we weigh the dog or the pet right in front of the client. So they're able to see Fluffy is now 11 pounds and moved up to a different price bracket. So we're not hiding anything. You're watching it. It's clear as day. All of our pricing is posted clearly for them. So they know 0 to 10 pounds is this price, 11 to 20, 21 to 30, 31 to 40. And then anything over 40 is weight plus that price. And then anything over 21 inches at the withers, standard size dog, is set base price of $150, goes up from there. That's how I have our pricing structured, because that matches what my hourly rate needs to be. So that is what the client will experience when they come in. I'm going over that dog. When we notice something, we are notifying them right then and there. We also ask, is there any concerns or medical conditions that we need to be aware of? Does your Fluffy have seizures that we need to know of? We see so many dogs that are one-time or once-a-year dogs. We have to ask this with everyone. Now, as you get to know, and if you're a one-on-one, you kind of know who Fluffy is. You've been grooming him all this life. And so maybe you don't need to ask anytime. But as you see them starting to get older and those senior dogs, we need to be aware of anything happening, because a lot of times we're the first line of defense for those dogs. Mom and dad don't always pay enough attention to those dogs. And so if we see something, we can bring it to their attention and cause them to start, giving a little bit more attention to whatever that dog needs. But if that dog is mad, we know immediately we're going to have to shave him. It's pelted to the legs. He's going to be irritated. He's going to need follow-up care when you get home. If we can tell them this before they leave, that's going to prevent the bad Google review sometimes, not all the time. But it's also going to say to them to let them know what to expect. So when I get home and the next morning I wake up and he's scratched and he's bleeding from where they had to shave it, I'm not going to call screaming or immediately go to social media because, they told me this was going to happen. They told me that the ears were so matted that he could have a hematoma afterwards. And if he's shaking his head a lot, to expect it. All of that, if it's told in advance, then they're prepared for it. You're going to have a better reaction from them. Same as the kid at daycare. You go pick up the kid at daycare and nobody told you he fell down on the playground and his knees all scratched and he had to go to the nurse and get a Band-Aid. But had you got that phone call, hey, Tommy was out on the playground, fell down. We took him to the nurse, cleaned it all up. He's got a Band-Aid. He's good to go. Then mom's expecting it. There's a clear line of transparency and trust is built. So we want to go over those dogs and inspect them. So train your team. Train your team how to have a brush and a comb out there and show the client these are mats that we're not going to be able to brush out. Or these mats we are going to be able to brush out, but we may have to end up cutting a little shorter in this area. So you may notice a hole or a little difference in evenness, whatever. Set them up for success. Set yourself up for success so that you don't have to deal with the bad phone call or the bad Google review. Again, that's all part of that check-in process. Upon pickup, anything that groomer has documented that he's trying to bite on a clipper, he doesn't like his feet touched, Google feet are no longer an option for this senior pet. Whatever, he's cage aggressive. The bathing team lets you know, we can't use a force dryer on him. We've got a kennel dry because he's too aggressive. And we let them know at pickup. Now, one rule I have in the salon, if an incident happens and there's blood, we've got a phone call immediately. Everything stops, manager gets on the phone. Hey mom, we had an incident. Fluffy licked the scissors or what, and we've cut the tongue. We've nicked the webbing. There's a little bit of blood. It doesn't require anything, but we wanted to call you immediately. It is our policy. If there is blood, we start a call just to let you know you're welcome to come up here so that we can go ahead and finish him. He's okay, but we are going to need follow-up care. Or we've had an incident. Fluffy's tongue is cut off. We'll meet you at the vet. Where do you want me to meet you? We're on our way with him now. If there's blood, there is a phone call, and immediate reaction goes into play. Now, if there's a nick and maybe there's a little bit of webbing that's cut, we're shaving out under the feet, but no blood, but we know it's going to be red and irritated. There was poop stuck to the butt. We know that when we shave that off, we're going to give him an aloe bath and charge him for it. But we know that he's going to need follow-up care. It's documented. And the receptionist is going to let mom and dad know at the time of checkout. But it doesn't necessarily require a stop all, we're calling phone call right now, right? So you've got to determine at what point do we get phone calls, at what point are we headed to the vet, phone call, and then just letting mom know we're documenting it in the files, right? So those are kind of the set standards in which I keep, and everybody here knows that. But again, it's preventing a problem from happening because we're on top of it. Also, my clients feel safe knowing while Fluffy's in my care, I'm going to take care of it. They don't have to worry that if something happens here, I'm going to tell them, you have to pay for it. It's not our fault. You brought the dog in and at it. We know you brought the dog in and at it. We accepted the dog as is, knowing that we were going to have to shade it and there was a chance of it being cut. Now, our consent forms do say that if the dog is matted and there is a cut or a nick, you recognize that it's not our fault. There was a chance of it happening. But am I still going to cover the medical cost of that? Yes, I am, because I am a business and I'm a professional. And if you leave your pet with me, I'm going to make sure it's taken care of. Am I still going to charge you for the matting fee and for the groom that we did on it? You betcha I am. We did the work. But I'm going to pay for the medical care that it requires. I'm also going to give you a strict regimen in which I plan to see that dog back on our VIP program so that we can prevent this from happening again. Okay. So at pickup time, before that dog is brought out, our receptionists are covering any documentation that needs to be covered. So whether that's Fluffy doesn't like the dryer, and we can no longer use the high velocity dryer on him. We've got a kennel dryer, which is going to extend the length of his stay. We are letting them know that once Fluffy is brought into this equation, they no longer are paying attention to you. So it is imperative, whatever you need to say to them, whether that's collecting the money, letting them know follow-up care, letting them know when they're due back, rescheduling the next appointment, all of that has to be done while they're looking at you with their full attention. The minute Fluffy enters, you no longer have their attention. So I'm a stickler with my receptionist of do not bring Fluffy out until all business is handled, because mom and dad can't pay attention. Once Fluffy's there, Fluffy's trying to get to them. They're trying to get the collar and leash on. It's a madhouse. My receptionists take the collar and leash to the back, get your dog dressed, and bring it out ready to go. The only thing we do is ask you which fragrance you would like. We have a perfume bar, 1, 2, 3 squirts, and out the door you go. But the dog is already controlled and secured with its harness or leash. And God forbid a retractable one at that. So we make sure that the process is easy and we're covering all bases as much as we can to prevent anything that can go wrong, because what can go wrong will go wrong. I often refer to Hello Kitty season in our salon, and we see that during tax time and often at holidays, at the Christmas. And I refer to it as Hello Kitty season because I had this one client come in years ago, and she was a once a year. She had gotten some income tax money back in, and she was going to have her dog all dolled up. Whatever we offered, she wanted it all. Every facial, every paw pad treatment, dental, some hair color, everything, just add it all on. The dog was extremely mad. It's all we could do was shave. But I remember her coming in, and she had her nails were done, very long, and she had a Hello Kitty painted on one of them. And so that's where the reference came from. So she wanted it all, but she was extremely upset that we shaved the dog, even though we had her sign the consent form, which they get that automatically when they schedule the appointment. And we explained to her, it's going to be shaved. And we always reference it shaved like a chihuahua. It is going to be very short. That's all we can do. Anyway, she was very upset, and she never returned. But the mindset that she had was that once a year, I got a little bit of money, I'm going to expect a miracle, and you're going to make it happen because I've got money to spend with you. No, we're not going to make it happen. And no, we can't do it all in one session once a year. So I reference our Hello Kitty season when we see an influx of those type of clients. They're not going to stay on schedule. They come in, they've got a little money to spend, and they expect the world from you. So when we know Hello Kitty season is upon us, we are all very careful in our check-in and check-out process to make sure we dot all of our I's and cross our T's to prevent that, because we know it's going to happen. Okay. I do upfront pricing. I realize not everybody can do that because it is situational based on length of hair or size or however it is. But even though you can't give a price, you can do upfront explanation of how it is you're going to base your price so that they can see this is a variable, length of hair is a variable, size of dog, breed of dog, if you're basing it off of breeds, whatever it is, have that posted, have that on your website so that they know breed is a variation, length of hair, size, yada, yada, how long it's been since it's been grown. So that they know that you're putting on there, from $50 to $100. Well, immediately they're going to think 50. But if they know that all of these are variables, that's what's going to make that price, it's a little bit easier to accept. Again, just cover all of your bases on that. I have very high expectations. So when I go somewhere, I expect to be utmost in customer service. So I tend to do business with small businesses because I like to give my money to locals. But if they don't have the customer service, I'm not returning. And so I base my business off of what I expect. And if your business meets your expectations, if you would do business in your own salon, you're probably okay. If you wouldn't do business or you don't like how your clients are being treated, what makes you think anybody else is going to return? So it's a good way to gauge it yourself. Have family members come in and don't let your staff know that it's family members, and just do a trial run and see how they're treated. Nobody knows them, and they'll be able to report back to you as well if you're worried about it. I have camera systems, so I do listen in and watch my staff interact. Let's see. Okay, nail trims. Covered this before as well. Everybody quicks the nail, so we've got a process for that as well. On Melissa Verplate's first tour, when she wrote notes from the grooming table, she went on a tour all over America, and she taught me this, and I came home and I implemented it. We make up little Ziploc packs. I don't know if I have them with me or not, but inside of it, we print out that your dog's nail was quicked. In the event it begins bleeding, simply open this capsule full of styptic powder, dip it in, close it back up. It is a take-home kit. We know that we've quicked the nail. We trim nails before the bath. That's our process. We do nails, ears, and brush out before we bathe. So in that process, if a bather quicks a nail, we simply put a packet into the dog's sleeve, and then the receptionists know when they pull that card to check them out, it's got a packet. He had a quick nail today. It's not bleeding now, but in the event it starts bleeding when you get home, here you go. This is how you do it. So again, we've gone above and beyond to prepare for the accident that's going to happen, because you're looking at the girl who has had to take peroxide and towels out to somebody's car because the dog walked out of the parking lot, jumped into the car, scratched the nail, and it began bleeding on the way home. And now the car's got blood all over the back seat, and mom is pissed, and rightfully so, right? So we try our best to prevent quick nails, but we know what's going to happen. So in that event, I got a solution for it, a take-home little capsule with styptic powder. So I just bought the little machine to refill, bought the capsules in bulk, and then we fill it with styptic powder, which is another job that my receptionists do when they're not making bows. And that's how we're able to send clients home and prevent a bad Google review. Okay. I also have an open door policy. So if we couldn't do Fluffy's nails, we're going to let mom know. Fluffy didn't let us trim his nails today. Now, can we certainly strong arm him and hold him down and make it happen? Yes. Are we going to do that? Nope, not without you. So we waited. Now that you're here, can you help us? And you can see how bad Fluffy acts. And then your expectations are going to come down a little bit for us. And then you're going to be faced with, I need to work with Fluffy a whole lot more. So a lot of times if we can let those clients see what Fluffy really acts like, then they're not going to hold us so accountable or such high expectations of what they expect us to do with Fluffy. So I have an open door policy. I don't have a problem with clients coming back in my salon. That is the reason I have insurance. And so on grooming forums, I see our insurance doesn't allow for clients to be in the back. That is not true. Your insurance is there for that reason. That's why you have the general liability. The moment that they drive onto your parking lot, you are responsible. The moment that they drive off of it, you're clear. So anything that happens while they're on your property, you're liable for. Now, is it your fault? No, but that's the reason you have insurance. So as long as you're with a team member, you can absolutely be taken back to the back. I allow clients to stay with their pets during our express service. It's a 1-hour service. We're going to have you in and out in an hour, and you're going to pay for that. But then you get to stay with Fluffy, and whatever the best groom we can do, that's what we're going to do. So if he's trying to bite and kill and do all that, we're going to do the best we can to the point that's not safe for him. Then we'll say we're stopping grooming. You need to take him to the vet. He needs a little cocktail, mocktail to get him groomed. But if he's going to bite and scratch and pee, I'd much rather it be all on mom than on me. Because if mom doesn't believe Fluffy acts like that, she'll be able to see firsthand that we're not hurting him. He's just not acclimated because she didn't do her job. It's socializing that pet. Okay, trying to move on. Kennel wash. This is an add-on service. They bring the dog in the kennel, and he's pooped in the kennel on the way over. Hey, no problem. We can do a crate wash for you. It's $8. My bathing staff will take that part. wash it, clean it, disinfect it, put it all back together. And when you come back, we'll have Fluffy in the wash kennel and ready to go. So another little way to make money. We do crate washes. Our software sends reminders. It's a great way to keep them on schedule. We do have a $50 no-call, no-show fee. So we don't always want to charge it, but it is there, and they are completely aware of it. And the first time, hey, I was on my way, we had a car accident, not going to be able to make Fluffy's appointment, no problem. We waive it, we document it. If the next time they had an accident or a flat tire on the way, no, probably not. We're going to charge you. But without having any software to document and track it, you're going to end up with a whole lot of no-call, no-show, right? So I do implement the no-call, no-show, same-day cancellation fee. Now, we take walk-ins because we groom 50 haircuts a day. We've got 5 groomers on staff. Oftentimes there are walk-ins allotted for. Somebody cancels, I can fill that spot as long as you let me know by 7 o'clock. Because people are calling before they're leaving to work. Hey, can I drop Fluffy off? Yep, we had a last minute cancellation. Come on over. So it's no problem to fill that spot if you let me know. If you don't let me know and I can't fill the spot and I have to tell somebody no, you're going to pay that $50 no-call fee. And I keep it high because I don't want the $50. I'd much rather have their $75 for the full grooming. But I have to make it hurt enough to deter them. So that's what I have that in. Again, I'm not trying to hit them hard. I want to retain that client for 10 to 12 years. That's how I'm going to make my profit. Having that client come in only, once every now and then, or jump around to different groomers is not really beneficial or profitable for me. So I want to make it easy. I'm not trying to stone them or take advantage of them every time they come in. 10 to 12 years. Okay, during holiday times, February, Thanksgiving, Christmas, those are our Hello Kitty seasons. Again, that's when you're in demand and everybody wants you. Now, if you have a set client base, you probably don't experience this because you're seeing the same clients over and over. But when they have an influx of money, they want to get that dog groomed out of the backyard. We always say they mowed the grass, they found the dog, now they need it groomed. Which again, you might not see that in your area, but I definitely see it in mine. So rewards program, DaySmart has where we can allow for rewards. And I used to do it for every $100 spent they got, when they got $5 off. And that was quite a bit. That cost me, I want to say in 2024, over $17,000. I was like, oh, that's too much. You know me, I'm tight wad. Don't let them spend because I have to spend. So I can't allow for anybody else to spend. And so I took that down. The rewards is based on the retail. The more retail you buy, the more rewards you get, and that's money off. So now if you buy $100 worth of retail, then you're getting that $5 coupon on your next visit, or, it builds up. Everything you spend works up for it, but every $100 is about $5. It's a great way to offer. We send that out in emails as well. So with clients, communication is everything. And what you build with them is going to keep you coming. They know me, and they know that if they're not happy with something, they know that it's not the way I normally do business. They call me directly. They also know and trust us. So if the haircut isn't perfect this time, my clients are generally going to say, must have been an off day. I'm still going back. It's not a problem because Michelle always does a great job. And that's what you want your clients to say, because sometimes a groomer's not going to be up to par, or a dog moved and you cut off too much and you really can't fix it to make it look great. So you want them to have a good relationship with you that they're going to be able to overlook sometimes when it's not perfect. In that same regard, you're going to overlook if they've got an emergency and have to cancel on you, maybe once or twice throughout the year. More than that, then I would say they're taking advantage of you. And if you don't give them a really good haircut and you have an accident more than once, maybe twice a year, well, then there's no reason for them to keep you. That works both ways. Okay, now let's move on to employees. I will try to speed things along. Sorry. Let me recap on this real quick, just touching on my bullet points. So for the clients, professionalism, show up and stand out. This is one thing I didn't cover. I have uniforms in the salon. It's professional. It's clean. It keeps everybody looking like they're ready for work. To me, I want to deliver that type of a presence. I myself like to show up. I like to do business and interact with people that look like they've got it together. And so if you look disheveled and like you just woke up and you didn't really put any effort into getting ready, how are you going to make my dog look pretty if you yourself can't be put together? So that's always been my theory. I've had some people come to work that did not have proper attire on. We have to get up, down, in hills. We're lifting dogs. You've got to be able to move. So if you're wearing really tight clothes, that's kind of hard if it restricts your movement, or really tight clothes that may show things when you bend over. I don't like that either. We have men and women that work. I want everyone to be respectful. So we don't wear low cut, right? That's just going to have dog hair and toenails in your booth. If you've ever, as women, y'all can relate, right? Take off your bra, you got toenails holding out all my life. So these are things that I want to prevent. So uniforms was the easiest way to do it, but a great way to advertise. Because when you walk into that salon, you're seeing my branding and my logo, and I want my branding to be recognizable. Everything I have has my logo on it. Also, when my employees are on their way to work, it's advertising for me. When they're on their way home, they have to stop at Walgreens or H-E-B or a grocery store or they're paying bills. Somebody's going to ask them, oh, you work at Michelle's Pet Salon. And who has not been stopped out and about once they recognize what you do for them to show you, look, I have this little Maltese at home, and da-da-da. Everybody wants to show you their dog. So it's a great way to have free advertisement with your employees, your staff, wearing your logo and your information. And it also makes you look very professional. Accommodating, easily accessible. Again, that's making that phone and the website and your storefront easy, a stress-free process for your clients to be able to get to you, schedule with you, and use your services. Communicating clearly, check in and check out, and then follow-up care. Put a plan into place. If you know that, Fluffy had his toenail cut, maybe not quick. I don't think I would call for a follow-up on that. But if he got nicked on his butt or in the webbing or maybe in an armpit, we're calling, hey, how's Fluffy doing? He okay? He's still eating and drinking? Perfect. Try not to let him lick that area. Aloe vera, crack open that plant, rub it on there, or whatever it is. Follow up. Let them know you care. That's just a good place. Pricing structure, your hourly rate and signage. So again, if you're not going to put upfront pricing because you need to be able to see the dog and determine, depending on how your groomers groom or whatever, then at least you've got the variables up there and they can base it off of that. Knowing your numbers, how many do you need per day, week, and month, and then are your clients set up for a 4, 6, or 8 week schedule, right? Know that so that you can let your clients know that I'm only taking 4 week clients, or I've got room for a 6 week, or I can do an 8 week, or whatever it is. Pricing and increasing your pricing. You need to, I follow the rule that I increase generally in October before the holidays. They need me in November and December. So I know that they're not going to mind paying that 3% increase. That's what I charge. That's when I go up every year for cost of living rate increase, right? So across the board, it's a 3% increase. And I post that because 3% is very minimal. And when you put on there, normally you're paying $20. Your price has gone up to $20.30. They're like, oh, doesn't matter, right? So it's not a big deal. When you make it a big deal and send out this mass email and you don't put in there kind of to where they can see the numbers, it becomes a thing. And a lot of times the groomers, they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to raise it. When you have earned what you're worth, you have no problem telling them, hey, it's a price increase, cost of living, my employees get a raise, product costs have gone up. If you have to explain yourself, generally you don't, but you send that out, it's no problem. You don't feel guilty because it has to be done. We're all paying more for what we buy and purchase out and about. And so that's got to come back in-house for us. Tip jar. Bait your tip jar. So there is a $10 bill and a $5 bill sitting in our chip jar. It has been there for probably 20 years. I think it's the same 5 and 10. And they stay in there. And it's just baiting it. And so if your clients don't tip or don't know to tip, it's in there. And I don't use ones because I don't want ones. I want 5s and 10s. Shoot, I want 20s. We also do a tip share in the salon because my receptionists check you in and out and schedule your appointments. My runners take your dog's weight, get it back into the back, and then get it back out. My bathers prep and bathe your dogs. My dryers dry your dogs, and my groomers groom your dogs. So there's a tip share. And it's very well respected. Nobody has a problem with it, and all groomers go home with somewhere from $275 to $300 pay period. So plenty of tips to go around with that many dogs that come in the door. We generally groom 50 dogs, 50 haircuts, and then anywhere from 30 to 50 baths per day. Okay. Next up, employees. And this, I will say, is probably the biggest headache for any business because you're not just managing the groom or the product that you service. Now you're managing a personality and someone with their own thoughts, and it's difficult sometimes. So we've got to set up a process that's going to set them up for success as well as us. But this is the biggest challenge for any business. Okay, is everybody still with me before we move into this?
Yep.
Not really. Okay. Can we maybe do a social media post so that we can get them over to it? Okay, so for employees, we're going to cover employee versus contractor, onboard training, management, strengths to my weaknesses, and then SOPs, which is your standard operating procedures, streamlining teams and departments. So you can go on and on about this. It really is something through years of doing it. I don't think I'll ever master it, and I've come up with a system that works for me, and hopefully it'll work for you. So, let's go. One of my least favorite subjects, right up there with taxes and write-offs, since Michelle doesn't let me write off my uniforms. So 55 years in business as a salon, in which my mom started, and I have been in here for 38. If you're going to have a large operation, you must have employees, right? It's the only way, but you got to learn to manage it. So the most helpful advice I'm going to give you managing a business with employees is all matter of fact, and it's not emotional. So the best thing that has come to us, nope, she didn't receive the new link. Mariana, for Dottie's pet grooming. I think I texted you those, Caitlin. So when we manage, we have to, one, put ourselves in the right mindset and remove emotion out of it. And it's very difficult, right? Because if an employee, you said, please don't eat on the grooming floor. We don't have a break room. All breakfast breaks or lunches need to be taken in the break room. And they continuously bring food. You're kind of like with your kids, like, I've asked you not to do this. Why are you doing this? And you take it personally. So we have to remove ourselves and take emotion out of it so that we handle it correctly. Because as an employer, we are held to a different standard. There's laws that we have to follow, and there's ways that we can speak to someone and we can't. And so there's just a way about going about it. So we want to remove the emotion so that we can handle things properly and professionally. So I think that's the biggest takeaway from that before we dive into it. And in the grooming industry, we have a lot of emotions going on. We see it through all of the grooming forums. Everybody's emotional and everybody's pouring out. The fact that you're pouring out your personal stuff on social media tells me you're probably not emotionally stable. And so then you're running a business and you've got other people that are working for you. You got to get that in check. If you're going to be a successful business owner, you've got to have that in check so that you can run things professionally. So remove emotion. It's harder than I know, it's difficult, but you've got to find a way to do it. I have found a new little trick. ChatGPT is one of my best friends because I can go to her and say, Kayla keeps bringing her food and eating on the floor, and now the dogs smell like hot dogs, and the whole room smells like onions, and this is ridiculous. I've told you time and time again, you cannot do this. And then ChatGPT says, here's a cleaner version. And they give it back to me. And I'm able to send that in an email, or if it's something private, I send that in a text message to that particular employee to help address it. But it just removed the emotional part away out of that text so that we can deliver that message and hopefully have the changes needed to be able to have a better, successful outcome. Okay, so we may have friends or employees that become friends, but while we're at work, it needs to be very matter of fact. This is where your SOPs come into play, your standard operating procedure. So every department in the salon has a book, has a binder of how those operations go from the minute you walk in and you put your belongings into your locker, you're in uniform and you clock in. Shampoo tanks need to be made, kennels need to have mats set out on them, whatever it is. Every room has that binder of what needs to be done. I've created a plug and play process so that no matter who I plug into that position, they can follow the steps that I have in order. I have a very strict bathing procedure. The steps that I require you to do to prep that dog before we bathe it, they are not in question. I want it done that way. And I often tell them, when you have your own salon, you can change it, do it however you want. But as long as you're going to work here, for me, my clients expect a certain level of quality, and you're going to do it my way. One, it limits the possibilities of something going wrong by having an order in which we follow every single time. That becomes routine. It also reduces the cost of the products that we use, because if you're just gauging and pouring out shampoo to mix it how you think, well, you don't know, and you're not the one paying for it. So for me, it's going to be the way I say it, to this dilution rate. So SOPs, binders for every department so that every rule that you've set in place, what you want it to be, is followed. And then if it's not followed, then we correct them verbally, we document that. And then the next time maybe there's a write-up and we have them sign that. And 3 write-ups at that point would probably need to replace that employee because they haven't done what we need from them to make the changes to be successful in the role that we have them in. I'm not one to micromanage. I put the right people in the right place to get the job done. So we need 50, actually, our bathing team, God bless them, they're amazing. They do 75 to 100 dogs a day, and there's 4 of them. So that's a lot, but we have a system in place. I didn't invent it. Ford Motor Company invented it, but I didn't need to invent the wheel. I just needed it to fit in the car that I'm driving. And so I implemented that assembly line process, and that's how we're able to do the volume that we do. So again, not for everybody. If you have no aspirations of running a big salon or a high volume salon, well then one-on-one is fine. You still want to mix the shampoo correctly so that you reduce your cost. You still want to bathe the dog correctly and in order so that it's timely and efficient. And so you don't miss any parts. So no matter what, whether it's small scale or big scale, you're still going to follow these SOPs, and you need to develop what your salon works well with. But I developed what works for mine. So the employee handbook lays out everything. Each room has a binder that lays out everything. For onboard training, I am sending them for 30 days. They are doing training. So what does that mean? They're being paid. Once I hire them, they're being paid, and they are not expected to meet any quotas. They also don't have access to tip shares until the end of that 30 days, when they can bathe 6 dogs in an hour and do all types of coats, right? They can recognize the coats, be able to use what products are needed on that coat, what drying technique is needed on that coat, and then finish it, take the photo, and send the pickup. So they have to know the software as well. That's the criteria that they're going to learn in those 30 days. Everyone starts in my bathing room because that's really where it all is. And once they learn the handling in that process, the rest is smooth sailing. But learning how to put those dogs in those positions and get those dogs clean and in a timely manner and having all that hustle and bustle, the only way you're going to move up into my grooming department would be coming through my dating department, because then you know how the salon is ran. You know how to communicate with all the different departments as well. And it's vital for it to run smoothly. Everyone has to communicate. So SOPs, huge part of it. Your handbook, that's where you're going to incorporate all of the must come to work and clock in on time, no more than 7 minutes prior to your start time. Because if I'm due on the job at 7 o'clock and I clock in at 6:30, I just got an extra 30 minutes of paid time for sitting around waiting. I didn't need you to work at 7 o'clock, but you need to be at work, ready to work, in your uniform, your personal belongings put up, and clocked in no more than 7 minutes before your start time. Why 7 minutes? Because I think is it 8 minutes, Michelle? And your time clock it bumps up. So if it's 7 minutes or less, it's going to bump back. So if you got to be at work at 7 and I clock in at 6:52, well, then that's going to push me to 7 o'clock. If I clock in at 6:50, it's going to push me to 6:45. So you can see where that would gain you 15 minutes, right? So no more than 7 minutes prior to your start time, and that's going to push you to the exact start time. Otherwise, they're going to get an extra paid 15 minutes. I'm not trying to nickel and dime my employees, but I'm also smart enough to know that somebody's going to try to run the clock. So the more you know, the better you are. In that handbook, you're going to lay all of that out. What you expect, what they can expect from you. And they're going to initial and sign that. So now we have a clear understanding of everyone's expectations. We've gone through training. We have our SOP books. We're just going to sign off that, yes, I'm comfortable performing these tasks. That means you've been trained properly. You know what to do. So if you don't do something that you've been trained to do, I can now hold you accountable. And that's the reason we have those procedures set up in play. So let's tackle the industry issue, the biggest issue, employee versus contractor. If you're going to run a successful business, you're going to have employees. Where does the contractor come in? The 1099 contractor, generally nowadays, back in the day, there was really no system. It was kind of just like, hey, me and my friend, and I'm going to pay her because it's all coming through my business. So, all right, I could see how that worked. But nowadays, we're more educated. We've got more sense of what we're doing, right? So if we're going to set ourselves up to have a successful business and be able to get loans and be able to grow our business or purchase other locations, whatever it is, any type of financial funding, we need to be set up for success and do things right. So an employee is an hourly paid employee. To me, this is the most beneficial to any of the business, any grooming business. Paying a contractor means, think about it this way. I have a lawn care service. That is a contractor to my business. They are set up as a vendor through my QuickBooks, and that is how I pay them. They are responsible. They have their own business, their own EIN number, their own business insurance. I don't tell them when to come. They are to service my location 4 times a month, every Monday of every month, and I pay them $400 a month. That is a contractor. If that person that you are using as a contractor, as a groomer, and you're telling them, hey, I've got 10 dogs on the books today, or you've got 10 dogs scheduled, I need you to come in, whatever. That is not a contractor. That person is your employee and it's misclassified and you're doing it wrong and you're going to get caught. And you're really doing yourself a disservice because you can claim everything that you're providing for them as a write-off. So the extent, the tools, the sharpening, all of that stuff, that's all a write-off for your business in which you're profiting, you're going to need some write-offs, right? So clear lines. If your groomer is coming in and you've got dogs on the books and they're scheduled, they are not collecting their own payments, scheduling their own dogs, have their own business insurance, have their own EINs, they are an employee. They are not a contractor. Now, how is that legal, I guess, or the right way to do it? That would be like table booth or booth rental, similar to our hair salons or barber shops. I will tell Caitlin when to come in. She rents a space from me. I have nothing to do with it. I see her, hey, that's it. I don't tell her when to be here, when not to be here. I have nothing to do with her financial transactions or scheduling, nothing. She's paying me rent to rent out a space in my salon. Now, there's certain requirements that have to go with that, such as bathtub, table, her, all that equipment, whatever it is that you have to provide for that space. But she is not your employee. You have nothing to do with her business. You don't have any gains to her finances. So she pays you rent, and that's where it stops. You are now a landlord. You are not an employer in that case. And to me, that would be the only way to have, I guess, what you would call contractor. So that would be booth or table, booth rental.
Okay.
Okay. So that's contractor versus employee. And anything that varies is not great debate. Now that the great debate is settled, that's over. Let's move forward. When I look to hire or fill a position, it's always in my bathing area, which I just covered that. All of my groomers have been trained from ground zero up. I do not want an employee coming to me as a finished or seasoned groomer, and I'll tell you why. One, generally we have different styles. We have different ways of doing things. And like I said earlier, I have implemented an assembly line style here in my salon. And so things have to flow the way I have them designed. And if you're coming from another grooming salon, well, you've got all kinds of ideas and ways of how you've done things in the past. And you probably think they're right for you. And so you're going to want to try to change mine. And because I don't have any business partners, I don't care to hear them, honestly. And that may sound very bold, but as a business owner, you don't care for somebody to come in and change your way of doing things. If you wanted to learn a new way, you would take a business class, or you would go and research and find and see different things. But having somebody come in and change your system or do things differently kind of throws a monkey wrench into everything. So I just don't do it. I hire in the bathing room. They work there for a year. If I see the potential, they show up, they're dedicated, they care about the dogs. A big one for me is, are you talking to that dog while it's in your care? Then yes, I know you've got the potential for learning how to become a stylist. And then I will move you up from within when there's position available. So I train everybody on my own. Another thing is I want you to groom the way I groom, my style. The business that I have built, my clients, they come here for Robin. And so your clients are coming there for you. They want your style. They want how you do it. And so if somebody grooms different than you in that salon setting, what you're going to have is, it's not done the right way. You always do it this way and that way. And so I just don't. Everybody's here. They all groom with my similar style. Now, everybody certainly has their own touch on things, but it is still my style. My teddy bear heads, those are my teddy bear heads that they produce. My Schnauzer clip, which is breed standard. Sarah, don't kill me. That is the style that we produce. Everything is breed standard. It's just salon style, so it's modified shorter. But they're coming from my style. Our poodle feet are second to none. We do not leave any hair onto a nails. I'm going to stick going for it. So if somebody comes, and generally when a groomer comes to me and says they're a groomer, I say do a poodle foot, and they can't. And so that just wouldn't work, because my clients would be like, there's hair all over their toenail polish. And so it just wouldn't work. So I train them from the ground up. That way they do it the way I like it. They fit in with everybody else, and it's a smooth flow. I don't let anything disrupt the grooming room or the bathing room, because I can't afford for production to stop. So somebody's attitude or wrong haircut or whatever, they want to make changes, they got to go. They just got to go. I can't allow anything to affect my business and the profit that it's producing. And sometimes it's not always a profit, it's just producing. So I can't allow anything to interrupt that. When I interview, I look for the strengths that play a part. Some of the qualities would be red flags coming in, wanting to, okay. So when I'm looking to hire somebody, if they're coming in to me, and again, they're going to start in the bathing room, but if they're coming to me and they have aspirations of opening their own business, and so they're coming to learn, work from me, and then move on, I'm not hiring you. That is not somebody I want to hire. I'm looking to run my business, the one that I have bled, sweated, and cried over. I'm not looking to help you open your own business. You want that help? Come to Groomology, and I'll have a business seminar I can help you with. But I'm not going to hire you on when it takes 3 years to get a groomer up and ready and trained to where they can produce for me. I'm not doing that for you to leave. So if I see that as a red flag, I'm not hiring that. So I want to make sure that when I'm interviewing and I'm talking to these people, and you will get young people that, I want to open my own business someday. Okay, well, you're, 18, 19 years old. I can take that with a grain of salt. But if you're coming to me at 35 and 45, I want to open my own business, so I'm having to learn and work so that I can see the ins and outs. Well, you're more than likely pretty ready to start that. I'm not going to sit here and train you, but you can go upstairs and take Groomology, and I would certainly train you for that. You can pay me. I'm not going to pay you. Because it takes a lot to train somebody. You've got to deal with all of their screw-ups and all of the dogs that have to be rebated and the dogs that are whatever. All of those screw-ups, you're eating those costs. So for me to put that time and effort and training into you, I'm not going to do it for you to leave. So I don't hire anybody who has aspirations to be their own boss. I'm looking for employees, not business owners. Mindset behind hiring the employee is longevity. Same as the clients. I want somebody who's going to stay with me. Ellie, who's my salon manager, 12 years she's been with me. Jason has now been with me 5 years. So these people are here to stay and stick with me. I just lost my receptionist who had been with me longer than Ellie, which was I loved her pieces, but she had been with me ever since she was 17. And so finally she came to me and said, I think I want to do something else with my life. She didn't grow up wanting to have aspirations of being a receptionist at a pet salon. So I could appreciate that. But after her being here that many years, it was definitely a heart-wrenching loss because you grow to love them. But she's still our friend and we check in on her. So I don't hire established groomers. Their day-to-day practices and habits are not like mine. Not saying that it's bad. It's just not the brand that I built. And so everything must align with my values and how I do things. And that's how I've been successful. So the way I do things is proven. And so I'm not going to change it until that proves that it's not. Then I'll make the changes necessary. Onboard training, following the same stats based on our client profit return for our employees. So in the grooming industry, we look at the national index, we've got a 15 to 30% profit ratio. It's a very low profit producing industry. So when you start talking about paying commissions and then you have basically a partnership in your business. I don't have any partners in my business, so nobody's being paid commission. They're being paid hourly. One, it eliminates that I'm going to grab this dog and that dog and this dog, and you're doing crappy work because you're just trying to grab all the dogs. I eliminate that. We have a list of the dogs that are in for grooms that day, and they're all numbered, and all groomers just grab next. You don't know if you're going to get a Chihuahua or a Doodle or a Yorkie, or you don't know, but you're just grabbing next. Now, if there's large dogs, we're going to break those up. Everybody take a large dog for the day. There's 5 groomers, so there's going to be, if there's more than 5 dogs, well, then maybe somebody takes 2, whatever. But then if you see, small little easy dog, then you give that person that's going to do the 2 dogs maybe a little bit. Everybody works together to keep it even because they have to work side by side all day, and they love one another, and they want to do right by the other. So I generally don't have a problem with somebody grabbing the easy dogs and leaving the hard dogs. But I want to make sure that I am hiring for the long haul. And so when I do that, I pay hourly so that I can guarantee them 40 hours. They're able to base their lifestyle and their bills off of their job with me. They are not going to live feast or famine. They're not going to live ribeye to ramen. I have met so many groomers who I've been living in my car because I just don't have any money and I lost my place. You have a skill set with a trade that is priceless. How can you not be making money? It must be your mindset. And so when somebody comes in and they want 50 and 60%, and you're not my business partner, I'm not giving you that. I'm going to pay you an hourly rate, and I pay anywhere from $20 to $25 an hour, depending on the skill set and the longevity. And you groom 10 dogs a day. And so we have bathing staff, the drying staff, and reception. All you're going to do is clock in at 8 o'clock. You're going to groom your dogs, and then you're going to go home, clean your area, and go home. So you don't incur any of the responsibility of paying the bills, any of the headaches, any of the scheduling, any of that stuff. So why in the world would you incur any of the benefits of my business? If I'm the one incurring all the stress, then I'm the one incurring all the profit. That's my motto. So I'm sure I'll see that one on later, but that's how I run it. Okay, so that was that. It takes about 3 years to become fully trained. You'll see that when you take on someone in your hiring plan that they're going to spend about a year in that bathing room. Now, you may find some that are kind of exceptional and move up even quicker. And you feel like, hey, this is somebody I could take under my wing and train them and get them going even faster. But usually after about a year, they've got enough handling under their belts that they are equipped to be able to begin the grooming and know the different coat types with that much experience. So if they're not doing classroom work, they're only doing hands-on, which to me is most important. It's going to take them about that long to have all those dogs come across the tables. My groomers retire out as instructors. So Ellie has already begun helping me and assisting and teaching. Because we're in a prominently Hispanic area, Spanish speaking is really has become a large part of the school. Now, I learned Spanish. I failed it in high school because when I go to get tacos first period every morning, so I didn't have time to go first period class. So I failed Spanish. But when I got into the salon, because a lot of the clients spoke Spanish, I had to learn. It was a great way for me to be able to communicate and build their trust. And so I'm self-taught Spanish speaking. Although I'm pretty fluent, I get by pretty well. I don't always say the right him or her, right? Sometimes that's off, but they know what I'm saying. So with my students, I definitely have Ellie come in and assist with that because none of our grooming books are in Spanish. Not necessarily mine, but just grooming, the grooming industry in itself. We don't really have Spanish translated books. So she's able to assist me on that. So Kelly has already begun her teaching career by dipping her toe in it, and that's going to be where she transitions out of it when I'm completely hands off. I am constantly within the salon looking to replace myself. At the 10 employee mark, that's when I realized and I knew I had to have a management line between me and the employees. It's all you can do with about 10 employees. At that point, you've got to establish some type of management in between the owner and the employees. And that creates a buffer. If you're going to be able to manage, you can't be down in the trenches working and producing. So I stopped grooming and I came up and I allowed Ellie, who's down there with them on the floor, to be able to manage. So I tell her, this is what needs to be done. We have to hit, we cannot open the doors without $3,000 a day. That's bare minimum, right? So those are my numbers. So with that, she knows what has to be on the books. So if we don't have that on the books, hey, you can take the day off, no worries. Bathing staff, they get cut in half at 11 o'clock, right? So there's certain things that happen if we're not at our quota for the day. And you all do this, I'm sure already. But you know if it's not a fully staffed day, well, then people are taking the day off. Now, that we only see generally the back to school, that's September, the end of September, 1st of October. And then we'll see that the dip of January to February, the end of January, February, we see those low times. So I tell my employees, you've got PTO, you've got paid vacation, that's when you take that vacation, if you can. If you have kids, I get it. You got to do it during this overtime. So I pay hourly so that they can balance their lifestyle and their households off of their income. My groomers don't do this. They have a steady, even keel. So I know that groomers will come and say, oh, I'm not working for less than 60%. Right. And 60% of 2 dogs at a salon that is not properly managed and fully booked, you're still not making crap. So I don't want to hear how much more you make when an hourly position would give you consistency and a way for you to build your lifestyle on. So that's a big argument that I hear in the grooming forums all the time. We know that one person cannot do all things. So again, we have a system in the salon. So my bathing team, we have a lead. Alejandro is my bathing manager. He is the one that Ellie deals with directly. Brandy is my receptionist manager, and that's who deals with Ellie directly. How did I pick Ellie? How do you know who's the right person is for that position to become a manager? Because remember, I was replacing myself. So me stepping back, I had to replace myself. One, she does 10 dogs a day, so great, she replaced me there. And then she's managing the teams. How did I know she was the right person? She has strength, but she has strengths in all of my weaknesses. Where I am weak and I react emotionally, and if I see you not holding the dog right, hey, hold the dog right correctly, you're holding it wrong. If I am the one who speaks out like that, she does not. Ellie has a way of how she handles things that is very professional and kind and is not abrasive. So I knew Ellie had the strengths to all of my weaknesses. She was the one I needed to put in my place. She can handle what I can't. So don't always look for somebody who's just like you. Look for the person who has strengths where you have weaknesses. That's going to make your business that much stronger. Okay. Next, constantly be looking to replace yourself. I'm currently looking to replace myself now. If I could find somebody to run the school and run the salon and run the Blue Oaks, the kennel, I'd be in Mexico with Michelle, finding a way to write it off. But I can't. Not yet. Not there. But that's my goal. That's what I consider success. If you're producing, you're not managing. If you're down in the trenches, like I said earlier, and if I was still grooming 10 dogs a day, I could not sit back, oversee how it's all working, look at the numbers of what quarter Q1, Q2, Q3, see the differences there, and be able to make the adjustments necessary. I also wouldn't be able to see different ways, potentially, of how to grow the business because I'm down in the trenches of working it. So once you've created a system to where you've got some profit, it's producing profit, and you've got a little bit, a great way to get rid of that profit is to invest and build and grow bigger. Now, with that comes headache, but also you're investing in your money back in, you're not having to pay taxes on it. So you won't be able to see that potential, though, if you're down in the trenches still producing. So all of you groomers, they come and they say, oh my God, I've been grooming 40 years and I can't even see myself retirement. You might need to bring somebody else on and replace yourself so that you can start to see that plan B, what the next step is for you. 10 employees, again, that's at the point where you need to create the sub-management level. With that many employees, it's important to have a buffer and a barrier. The bathing team, again, the grooming team, and the reception team, those are the three that work with Ellie. Statistics, communicate. Okay. Next up. When each department's book was set up, I really followed, and I may have already gone over this a little bit, but I really followed the books of how to for dummies, because no matter who I hired off the street, I wanted them to be able to come in and read the order of go and be able to follow, right? So the whole business is set up for plug and play. And so whoever it is I hire, I'm going to bring them in, train them under this with these steps, and we should be able to continue to move. The whole production wouldn't stop just because we add another player into it. So make sure that you're setting that up. And that may take you, a couple of days to where you sit and really think about what it entails from the moment you open, what this role requires from turning on the light or opening the door to closing the door at night. Don't forget to incorporate locking your doors, your business doors at the end of the night. We just had a break-in here at the salon. Because my receptionist, it's a rule that only two have to close up because I don't want anybody alone by themselves. And nobody checked the door. It was locked, but not completely closed. And so, guy drove by on a bicycle in the middle of the night, robbed our salon. So, it's another great thing about employees. Okay, so the receptionist, I'm not sure where I was going on this one, but The receptionists are generally the ones that talk with our clients. If there's a problem, they will have a groomer come out to be able to tell mom, Fluffy's not really a candidate for this. We're going to have to shave. Or this is a husky. We don't want to shave. We would like to do the D-shed, but I don't want any more hair. And so we try to explain why shaving isn't really the preferred method or whatever. And so they know what they're capable of, and I leave that up to them to be able to communicate with mom what can and can't be done. We set a realistic expectation because the receptionists, they're not groomers. So we try to teach them as much as we can. You can't afford to put a groomer out as your receptionist, although I've been very lucky. I had Laura Stewart, who's a retired mobile groomer here in San Antonio, who retired. She was no longer grooming, sold the business in the van, but still wanted to work and have a part-time job in the grooming world. And so she's come on as one of my receptionists, and it's just been a blessing because she's been able to communicate that to clients. She's also a little older, and they accept that they're not going to be able to do that haircut from her more than they accept it from the 22-year-old who's happy-go-lucky. With age comes wisdom and also trust from your client. So make sure that whoever is talking to your clients has a great concept of what can and can't be done. A groom team arrives at 8 a.m. and then they usually they're supposed to go from 8 to 5. They do have an hour lunch. They will leave as soon as they're done. They're still paid for their 8 hours as long as they complete all 10 dogs. That's another bonus to coming in, doing your job, and having that hourly rate. But again, not commissioned. And they usually leave a whole lot earlier than 4:30. Most of them clock out between 3:15 and 3:30. Their duties do include cleaning their areas as well as cleaning the break room because the bathing staff has to clean holding room, bathing room, and drying room. So we gave the grooming staff the grooming room and the break room. I want the groomers to be able to spend time with their family. If they're able to enjoy their family life, then they're more apt to stay and continue a long career with me. So it's important for me because I missed 90% of all of my kids' events because I was working, building the business, and working for families, not always easy to be able to take off. It's important for me that the groomers come in, do their job, and get back home. I want them to be able to pick up their kids from school, be at events, be at weddings on Saturdays. So we modified the schedule on Saturdays from 7 to 3, which my mother, she is still very much alive and had a heart attack and rolled over. So because it just couldn't be done, but I did it. Still do the same amount of dogs. They just don't take a full hour lunch. They do a 30-minute lunch, but they come in at 7. So early in at 3. Next up is retirement. So having that plan, those Roth IRAs for a small business, I could not afford a 401k plan for the business. I'm hoping that is something we can do. But for a Roth IRA, that is what I've invested in for retirement and encourage them to do the same. I believe there is, Michelle, am I correct, in an S&P for small businesses? That is basically a retirement investment fund, but not taxed as high, I think it is. So definitely have a plan B for that. I have set up the 3 businesses for passive income so that the businesses will continue to run with the people in place and pay me my salary. They're also set up to where I could sell them if I needed to. I will not sell my property. I will always maintain my property as a rental income, in which all of my businesses pay my properties company for being here at the facility. So another way, again, having those businesses separated and then passing income from one to the other created a way for me to transfer and collect without having to pay so much taxes.
So the Excel sheet that I sent you, you're only going to put your numbers, plug your numbers into the yellow. The green is going to generate for you depending on what you, these numbers that you put in. And then the blue is going to give you that hourly, maybe that's the dogs.
Yearly, weekly, monthly, daily.
Nope, that's going to give you hourly right here in the blue. So let's go here in rent. So whether you're renting or you own, you've got a mortgage on it, whatever it is. Now, for your home-based businesses, if you're working out of your home, you can use a certain amount of square footage for that write-off, or to claim as you're paying rent. So Robin's Fluffy Cuts is working out of her garage, and that's 400 square feet. I'm going to figure out what that cost is that I'm going to be paying Robin to use her garage to run Robin's Fluffy Cuts out of. And that may be $400 a month, whatever it is. So I'm going to plug in kind of base numbers. So let's go here. So here, I'm going to plug in, say your rent is $2,000 a month. Now, that could be rent, that could be a mobile unit. I don't know. Whatever it is that you've got to pay to work out of your place, that's what that's going to be. I would think mobile units, whatever your number is, but wherever you're paying to work, let's say that's $2,000. Electricity or fuel for mobile, right? So electricity here at the salon, it's $500 a month. Water bill, we spend $370, kind of, give or take. Phone, our phone systems, Jesus, we pay a lot. And I consider my cell phone too as part of the business line, right, Michelle? Yes. So all of our phones go through the business, and I want to say that's probably about $870. Now we have a phone system that press 1 for English, 2 for Spanish, all that good stuff. It's got all kinds of departments. So we pay a lot. But let's say you only pay $300 for your phone system. Storage. Now, this would be for mobile units because not everybody can park their mobile unit at their house. My friend Judy, she was having to pay a storage a storage shed where she would park both of her mobile units for safety purposes, right? Lock them up. So if you're having to pay storage for that, that's where that storage fee could be. But if you don't have storage, you can change that line item to whatever it is that fits your business. But let's say you're got to pay $200 a month for storage. Now, insurance, business insurance. The bigger your business, the more insurance you're going to have. I actually, Pet Biz Insurance did Gibson Governor Insurance did my insurance for probably 22, 23 years. It wasn't until I got ready to build that I had 3 incidences just hit me. One, we were completely robbed blind during the build. And I'm pretty sure it was because the contractor didn't pay a subcontractor who came back and stole everything. So that hit me, and that was a $58,000 loss for all equipment. Then we built the new building. 2 weeks after that, a car drove through it. That was a $75,000 loss. 2 weeks after the car drove through, the brand new roof blew off. At that point, Gibson Governor Insurance had to drop me. And so I could not find another pet industry insurance that would pick me up because they have everybody. And so I called Frost Bank, who my commercial loan is with, and said, hey, I need business insurance. This is what I had. I need you to match it because I needed all of the coverage that they provide. And so they did. My bank has an insurance company, and they provided the exact same coverage that my pet industry insurance covered. And so if my receptionist gets robbed on the way to make the deposit at the bank, that is covered. If something happens and we cannot open our doors, we have a loss of income that is supplemented, and my $3,000 a day, that is covered. So that we meet our bare minimum to keep the doors open. So make sure your insurance is up to par. Make sure you have insurance. So if you can't find it through one of the pet industry insurances, then check with your bank. Frost Bank definitely has insurance. So my insurance is quite expensive. I want to say it's $12.50 a month. Let's not use my numbers because that's going to be really, really high for kind of the average to go. But I think you could definitely get good insurance for moderate size salon for $300. And that's going to cover any broken leg on a dog, a cut dog, a client slips and falls in your lobby, whatever, employee hurts themselves, any type of injury, or anything that happens on your salon or property is covered. Business supplies. Now over here, I kind of listed the supplies just to kind of give you an idea of what to go over. But anything that you use in the salon, so toilet paper, paper towels, shampoos, all the products that we use on the dogs, paper and printing supplies, anything that you do that for the business, you're going to put it in here. You can see where this can be creative. You can get real creative. But let's say that we're spending $500 a month on supplies. Probably not that much in a smaller business. Let's say $250. Employees, we want to be at that 35% ratio for our employee wages. So how much do you want to make if you're working by yourself? Now, as you put employees in and you figure out their wages, that's what you're going to plug in here. So I always ask everybody on a one-man show, how much do you want to make a year? Do you want to take home? So you plug that number in. Most people will say, I want to make $5,000, $7,500. And it's all in what you need to make. What is your magic number? So let's say that you want to make $7,500 a month. Maintenance and upgrades. You need to plan to buy new equipment and upgrade and repaint and fix a roof or fix a plumbing leak, buy a new washer and dryer, buy new hoses for your bathtubs, whatever. You've got to put money aside so that you have that acclimated for whatever purchases you need. So at least $250 a month. Income tax, you know you're going to have to put 8%. You've got to match that for your employees. So calculator, Michelle, can you give me 8% of 7,500?
Sure.
Sure she can. She's so excited to get on camera with y'all. $600 a month. It's really not that bad, guys. See? So now our business has the covered fee of the taxes that it needs to cover for our employee. Retirement. What is 5% of 7,500? You need to be putting up 5% of your income, investing it, Roth IRA, S&P, 401k, money market, something. You've got to save. What's 5% of 75?
375.
So $375 needs to go to your retirement investment per month. Bookkeeping. What's an average fee for a one-man show bookkeeping price? Yes. What should they expect to pay?
More than 50.
$150 to $200 a month, right? Depending on who you get. So let's plug in that $150 to have all your bases covered. Software and advertising. Now you could go really low on that advertising, doing your social media yourself, or you could pay for it, create a budget that you would spend, and then your software. I know for Pet 123, again, I have 2 different locations. One location is $375. I think here we pay $525 because of the amount of text and emails and everything else that goes into it. So find your software. I would say at least $200 a month. Vacation. You need to plan for your vacation because what the hell are we working for if we can't enjoy it? So what does your dream vacation every year look like? Is it Disney World? You need 10 grand, I'll tell you that. If you're headed to Mexico on a beach, all inclusive, probably about $3,000 will get you there. So let's say you're going to at least spend $3,000 a year on vacation. I left 2 miscellaneous tabs there. You can fill them in for whatever your business needs that maybe I haven't discussed, or other expenses that you need. Maybe you do the pickup and delivery, and so you have a brick and mortar, but you have a vehicle on there. You would incorporate that. Whatever it is. So you can just plug those numbers in. But as you can see, so with those numbers that we just plugged in, and which hopefully y'all were plugging in your own numbers, that gives me a monthly total of expenses and payroll and everything that I plugged in, $15,995 a month. If I'm working 20 days a month, which that's you being off Sunday, Monday, or 2 days a week, you're open 5 days a week, 20 days a month is what you're going to work. You need to make $39.95 or $98.75 daily. That's weekly, right? Your daily total is $799.75, which puts you at a yearly total of $191,940. So your hourly wage, open 8 hours a day, your salon hourly wage is $99.97 an hour. That's how much you need to be charging per hour. Now, if that number is too high and you're not going to be able to charge $150 per dog because that's not competitive in your area and your demographics, well, then you're going to either have to learn to groom faster or you're going to have to cut your expenses. And you're going to learn real quick how business works. So again, we didn't do real numbers. We were just kind of plugging in numbers here and there. I used some of mine, some of what I thought was right. So that is pretty high. Charging $150 for a little Yorkie, you probably aren't going to get. But if you could charge the same amount, you set that same price for your doodle. It's going to take you 3 hours on a doodle, though. So that'd be $300. So you can see how you would just implement your hourly price according to the dog you're grooming. Now, again, just because you work slow doesn't mean you're going to get to charge, because it takes me 4 hours to do a Yorkie. Again, you're going to realize very quickly you're not going to have any business, because the girl down the street can certainly do it quicker than that and for less money, and it's probably just as good. But you've got to be competitive in your rates, but you still have to make enough to cover your expenses. So if any of y'all have this up and have tried it, please comment. Let me know what your hourly rate is. I'd love to hear. So a lot of times it's very shocking. You end up with a $40, $50 an hour rate, and that's right at where your pricing generally is. So you're right on deck. If you're not, then you realize you need to come up, or you realize you're actually making a bigger profit because you're charging more than what your hourly rate is. So your expenses are really low and you're doing good. All right, Michelle, come on out and join us. Let me get you a chair. Guys, this is my dear friend, Michelle Richter. If you follow me on Snapchat, you probably saw her in Mexico with me. So there's Michelle, and I'm going to read you the questions. Where'd you get one print out for you? She did. Oh my gosh. Yes, she did. Okay. Well, then you go ahead. Let's hear the questions.
Let's see. The first one: how do recent changes in tip reporting affect my pet grooming business, especially with cash tips? What are the new requirements for tracking and reporting tips? But you should always keep track of your tips. And just like, let's just say you groomed 5 dogs today and Ben gave me a $20 tip. Just write $20 in your book. You have that set aside at the end of the year. You can total up your tips. And you don't have to pay tax on like $25,000.
Okay, so there is a cap to
And there is a cap.
Okay.
And that is for tax years 25 to 28.
Okay.
Just time frame. And those tips will be reported on Schedule 1A on your tax return. But definitely want to keep track of your tips so you don't miss pay tax.
So another area where the software is going to come into play, if you're using a software, it's automatically going to track that for you. Now, cash tips. Y'all know, remember earlier I said I like to work in the gray, Michelle's the black and white girl. So if it's a cash tip and we're reporting all the other, would anyone know if there was a cash tip that wasn't reported on the software tracking?
They would not, but it would be a good idea to report that as income and then just take off the deduction that you don't have to pay tax
On it anyway. If you're going to go for a loan, it shows that you've got that income coming in, so it makes you a stronger candidate for lending. So I always say show as much as you can, because that's going to make you attractive. You go to the bank and say, hey, I need to borrow $100,000. And they said, okay, let me see your financials. We are only making $30,000 a year. I'm not going to loan you $100,000. It doesn't make sense. The math don't math. So especially if you're in your building stages of your career, show everything.
It was
So then the no tax on tips
for right now is scheduled for 25, 26, 27, 28.
That is correct.
So then after that, it could change and then we'll have to adjust to that. So also, if y'all caught that, there's a $25,000 cap. So then what happens if you make over $25,000 into it?
You only get to deduct the $25,000, and then that also depends on your adjusted gross income. So let's say that you and your husband make $400,000. Well, you're not going to be able to write off the $25,000. There's going to be a cap based on your adjusted gross income.
So for me, I understood that depending on your tax bracket, correct?
Adjusted gross income over $150,000 for single people, or $300,000 for bond insurance.
Okay. So if you're under $300,000 filing joint, you'll be able to write off the $25,000. If you and your husband combined make over $300,000, you're not going to be able to write off that $25,000.
Not all of it. So
Not all of it.
yes. Okay, that's correct.
Those are the questions I would ask, though. Hopefully, if that's what y'all are thinking, I'm asking for you. Okay. Next question.
If my employees receive tips, how do I properly report those on their W-2s versus if they were independent contractors receiving 1099s? Well, if you have employees, they will be reported on the W-2 in box 7 under Social Security tips. If they are receiving tips and they're a contractor, you're only sending them a 1099 for what you've paid the contractor. So that'll be up to the contractor to report those cash tips in their tax.
So if I understood this correctly, if I'm going to maintain that I'm going to pay 1099 contractor, I have to report the tips as my own. I cannot pass them through as the 1099 that I'm getting to them, or would I just include it all to them?
If you will be writing your contractor a check, and if, let's just say you as the owner receive that $20 in a tip, you're going to pay the contractor the 20 plus what you already owe them.
Okay.
And then that's what's actually going to be reported on the 1099.
So then that contractor is doing a disservice by accepting a 1099 contract, because now will they be able to split what's pay and, they will be.
Yeah, because they're just like being self-employed.
Okay.
So as long as I have it written down, this is how much I received from Maddie, I still report that on my tax return. As a deduction.
So as a 1099 contractor, you definitely want to keep separate what was paid to you for wages versus what's paid to you in tips, so that you can separate that when you file your taxes at your business. Okay. Next up.
All right. What's the best way to handle writing off grooming equipment or supplies? Should I deduct them all at once or spread them out over several years? Well, if you bought anything this year after January 19th of 2025, there is 100% bonus depreciation. So let's say that I bought a bathtub and that cost me $10,000. I will be able to write off $10,000. Your supplies, the automatic write-off, you will want to deduct everything you can.
The year that you purchased.
The year that you purchased. That is correct.
What would be something that would depreciate year after year that is considered a write-off as a depreciation?
Well, same thing. The bathtub for $10,000. Now, you can opt out of this bonus depreciation if you want to, and depreciate that over the next 5 years.
Okay.
But for the most part, again, they just changed it January 19th. Whatever you buy then, it's 100% write-off.
Okay. So if you've got a year that is profitable, you definitely want to take it that year. If you're not that profitable, then maybe you would spread that out.
And again, yes. And I would discuss that with your tax preparer to see.
Yeah,
What you think was next year you could be making $100,000, and that is over the next 5 years per se for the most part. So you'll probably be a percentage.
Right. So your tax accountant can do some projections and recommend the best way for your business to do that.
Correct.
Okay. Next up.
Can I deduct a portion of my rent, utilities, or home office setup if I do administrative work from home? And how does this differ if I have a physical grooming studio? The answer to that is if you are a sole proprietor, you can still claim a home office deduction. If you are an S corporation and an employee of the S corporation, you cannot claim a home office deduction. Basically, it's only if you're a sole proprietor or single member LLC.
Okay, because you're not an employee. Is that the difference?
Well, they used to have it to where you could deduct it on Schedule A, but they took that away, employee business expense.
Mm-hmm.
They took that away from us a long time ago. So this is the only thing available for Schedule C, right?
Okay. So, sole proprietor, you can deduct home office. LLC and sub S,
Nope, can't do it. Single member LLC, you can. Others, that's still on Schedule C.
okay.
What are the common red flags with the IRS when it comes to deductions? Can I write off too much? And how do I avoid being flagged for a hobby loss instead of a legitimate business? Well, a hobby is you just want to groom your friends' 2 dogs and they bring them to you once a month. That's a hobby. If you have your business cards, you invoice people, you have employees, that is a business. There's never really too much you can write off. You have your receipts, but you definitely need to keep a document. Your bank statement has all this shows the income, your expenses. That's a legitimate business. So you can deduct all that on your tax return.
Okay. So for me, what I'm hearing, if I've got business cards and I'm sending an invoice that you owe me, you are not just doing hobby.
No.
You have a business. So if that's kind of the clean, simple answer.
Okay. How can I ensure I'm deducting legitimate business expenses without going overboard or accidentally mixing personal expenses into my deductions? Well, a good rule of thumb is to always have a business bank account and then just transfer money from your business bank account to your personal account and write all of your personal expenses out of your personal bank account.
This is where we have creative differences.
And anything that pertains to the business, run it through your business bank account. That's just really the bottom line. If you are going to take, a groomer out to see if they can come and work with you, let's say you're taking them out to lunch, that is a legitimate business expense. It goes under meals expense, 50% write-off. And you just want to document who you took, where you went.
In case you're questioned, you'll be able to remember, as you won't remember after several glasses of wine.
Correct.
We generally don't remember what we discussed at our business meeting.
Right. What are the tax advantages and disadvantages of hiring W-2 employees versus 1099 contractors? And how should I handle taxes if I have both? Well, if you tell an employee what time to be there, when to be there, that's an employee. That's a W-2, period. But this, most part from this grading business, they're all W-2 employees.
Exactly.
And like you said prior, your 1099 would be landscaper. Somebody come in to repair your bathroom, something like that. For the most part, everybody is an employee in this business. Okay. So
now the table and booth rental. If there's anything you could add to what I added on earlier, that would be a contract, a lease contract where their rent would be this much for this period of time and they paid you.
Well, correct. So let's just take, for instance, a beauty shop. We go get our nails done. Well, the person doing our nails is paying the shop owner rent. Okay. There is no lease between them. They're just paying rent. So, because they are self-employed. The shop owner has the receptionist up front. She is getting a W-2. She's an employee per state. So your other people that are renting are contractors. They hold themselves out as their own business. They have their own business cards again. They would invoice. They'll send a 1099 to the shop owner that they paid them this much rent.
So then if I had booth rentals,
then the person renting that booth from me would give me the 1099.
Correct.
I would not be giving them the 1099.
No, because they paid you the rent, correct? And you report the rental income on your tax return.
Well, if that's not black and white enough for everybody out there, that clears it up.
Yeah. Have the IRS guidelines for contractors changed recently, and how should I classify them to avoid issues in this classification? Again, we just talked about W-2 employees. The only thing that's going to change this year is, for 2026 is when you issue 1099s to contractors, the limit now is you don't have to issue them to anybody that you pay under $2,000. That starts effective 2026.
And prior to that,
$600.
$600. Anything over $600, you had to 1099. Now that's jumped up to $2,000.
That's correct. And and that also pertains to anybody that provides a service. So again, your landscaper, your repairman, somebody fixed your car that you use in your business, and they're not a corporation, they will receive a 1099.
But if I'm going to the dealership, my receipt, my credit card, where I paid for it, that I don't need to, should not be oil changes.
No, because more than likely they're a corporation.
Right.
So if they're not, and even if they're an LLC and they have not elected subchapter status, they get 1099.
Wow. Okay. So if you're using, the guy at the corner of your street to change your oil, then you have to 1099 him.
If he has not, if you pay him over $600, again, next year will be $2,000.
Right. So but your dealership is a corporation, you would not give the dealership a 1099.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. And then the one last one that we have here is my business is new or seasonal and shows a loss in the first few years. Should I be concerned about an audit? And how can I justify those losses while remaining compliant? Well, as long as you've got documentation, you're fine. If you have a loss, you have a loss. It's just bottom line. Starting out in business, you're probably going to have a loss because you have to buy all your supplies, all of your equipment, and that's just what's going to happen.
And building clientele. They don't all come through the door.
Right. So, yeah, as long as you have documentation, if you're ever get audited, you can produce the receipts, your bank statements. And keep in mind, too, if you were to get audited and you're commingling your funds, meaning you're using personal monies in the business account, and over here on your personal side, you're using business monies, commingling, IRS does not like it. So you want to make sure you keep those accounts separate and just, again, transfer funds from your business account to your personal and pay your personal expenses out of that. And when your business account has everything, you turn it over to IRS and it's like,
okay. And when you transfer those funds, that's not the paycheck, but it is a distribution.
That's correct.
And that distribution is income tax free, right? Payroll tax free.
It's payroll, yes.
Yeah, payroll tax free, providing you don't exceed the equity in the business, right? So that goes back to that $10 profit that I took $20. So I got to pay tax
On the 10.
On the 10, okay? So you can take distributions, just don't exceed your company's equity.
The person. Yeah.
I'm learning. I don't know if I'll follow it, but what else?
That's it. That's all I have.
Okay, what do we have? Next question is in the chat.
Let's see if I put.
You got a few more. Brittany asked some questions, and a Richard asked in the chat. These questions very different places. Can you give them to us? Yeah, so Brittany asked, so that 1099 info would apply to having a contractor do work on a home salon? Question mark? Go ahead.
Reading a home salon.
So she's building a home salon, and she's having a contractor do the work for her to build it.
That's correct. So yes, this person is at least on the improvement per se. Somebody's installing your air conditioner on a new building. Yes, that person gets to 99.
So when he provided you with a quote or an estimate and you accepted the work, he should have provided you with a copy of his EIN or federal tax ID number or Social Security, depending on how he's structured. But he's got to provide you with driver's license, Social Security, or EIN number, which is a W-9. So you would want anybody you're going to pay have to fill out the W-9 so you can show where that money went that you're saying is a write-off. Okay, that was Brittany's.
I'm starting a home-based salon, and I'm preparing to start renovations to get my home salon LLC started. Should I get a business account voting first?
Yes. By all means, open up a business account. All your income and expenses will go through that. The loan, if you have a loan, that's going to go in that account. Your loan payments will go out of that account.
Last question is for Richard. He's asking, so the money I save for vacation goes into his personal account?
He can take a distribution and move that to his personal account, yes.
But it goes into the LLC account first.
Yes, all monies go into your LLC, and then you can take a distribution liquid to your personal.
Those are all the questions?
Okay. Anybody else? And even though if we don't get to you on the live, if you don't get the question in before we close it up, feel free to send the messages or the text. I'm happy to share Michelle's information. Lots of my fellow groomers have reached out and inquired about Michelle's services. She's happy to help. And you can just shoot her a text. And now she does all of my businesses. So she's very well aware of the grooming industry. And how it works and the expenses, the common expenses that we have. She realizes everybody runs their businesses differently and structured differently, but she's aware of how it goes. So it'd be very easy for her to pick up. And actually, this is her first time visiting my salon. So it's not like she needs to be in your area or local to you. Everything's done online. So with your software, she's able to pull your numbers, so your bank account. And then if you run QuickBooks or whatever payroll software you're using, she can assist with that. And then she puts all the numbers together. Because the one thing that doesn't lie is numbers. So unfortunately. Fortunately and unfortunately. On our buttons. Anything else? Caitlin, anything else come through? No. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. But if you have any questions, I'm here. I want to answer them for you. I can elaborate. I don't mind doing a phone call anytime. And then I may even add more to it. A lot of times, you're up here talking and then I may skip things that I really wanted to cover. It's going to come to me while I'm showering, washing my hair, and be like, Siri, voice memo. And then I'll add that into it. I want to be able to give everything that I've learned so far in the 38 years. I want to be able to give that to you because I have learned what to do by doing what not to do. And so those hard lessons that I've paid for, if I can pay them forward to others, that I'm doing right by the industry. So thank you again for joining us. Michelle, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
And happy grooming.